Again?
Did you even start?
I did now. Welcome, everybody,
great.
to Chris Announces the Texture Pop.
Hey.
Hey, I think we're on episode 21 now? I lost track.
This
Episode 3.
podcast can drink now.
Legal podcasting.
The podcast could have drank when it was 16. That's when I started.
Episode 21, legal podcasting.
Great, we got the fucking title right out of the way. I'll remember that.
No, you won't.
Alright. Welcome, everybody, to the Texture Pop Podcast. My name is Sam, and I'll be your host for the week.
Is it really Sammy, though? Is it really?
I don't know. Some people call me Sammy. Some people call me Callahan. Some people call me Asher. Some people call me Dipshit. Some people call me that guy that liked that game that I hated, and therefore I hate
People
him.
call you motherfucker!
Yeah, generally.
Brandon calls you weeaboo. I heard him say it once.
Just once? That's shameful. I gotta fix that.
Get working on it. Anyway, with me we have the full cast and crew. Brandon Carey.
Yeah. He transformed from a stupid rich white boy into a stupid rich white boy with drug-induced delusions of being some great warrior.
If you could only fit, like, the Far Cry 3 thing in that tweet, I would have retweeted that, but there's no context.
You can just retweet them both.
Oh, it's too much work. It was a good quote, though. I liked it. And I would be really curious if we do launch this Let's Play Far Cry 3, because you have a very different idea of the story than I did. Which will make it interesting to discuss. Like, you're the only person I know who, like, actively hated Jason.
Oh, no, I think everyone hated Jason.
I mean, people disliked him, but, like, Brandon, like, had a serious hate boner for him, and purposely gave him the bad ending.
I gave him the bad ending because fuck him, he doesn't deserve happiness.
Yes, that's what you hated him.
But taking it at the expense of the other characters.
That's what you hated him.
Sorry.
Damn.
I mean, they're assholes too, so...
And we have Chris Acharya.
The waifu will ruin your lifeu.
That's true. Waifus for life. Ooh.
Nope.
And, once again, back with us, possibly going to die in the next 5 minutes.
Don't say that.
He'll be fine. Garrett Glaze.
Hey guys, I'm sick. I am pestilence.
Alright, so, I think
I totally
we
want
should,
to be war.
I think before we get to our regular showing, we should obviously open it with questions, and then I think we should also prod Garrett a little bit about his Game of the Year choices from the week prior.
Yeah.
Because I'd be really
Yes.
curious to hear him defend his choices. Because we tried our best, but I'm not him.
Yeah.
Alright, so first questions. What?
Nothing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I got a question from Daniel Z. He says, ahoy hoy. I can't remember, is he the one who keeps fucking giving these greetings that make no sense to me?
Yes, he is. Deal with it.
Yeah.
I've heard that on The Simpsons. It totally makes sense.
Yep. Means it's okay. Alright, he said, good news everyone. Sega recently announced Yakuza 5 will be coming stateside in 2015. I have Yakuza 1 on my shelf. I need to play that
Good
sometime.
news, everyone.
I'm not dead. See, on a similar note, I am glad Chris mentioned Binary Domain, as I had completely forgotten about it, even having played through it, and it was developed by the Yakuza team. Which, fucking Binary Domain, most underrated game of the year whenever it came out.
Yep.
Nobody talked about how great that game was.
Oh, man.
Game's fucking
So
awesome.
fucking good.
I love Binary Domain. It's like Resident Evil 6, but good. Doesn't make me want to cry blood.
No.
Let's see. Binary Domain was a pretty solid game with some neat concepts. The only things I recall I didn't like was the awkward dialogue at times, like the makeout scene followed by the robot Kane telling you how much you enjoyed watching it. But I didn't use the
that's
voice
the
commands
best
either.
part.
Yeah, when we read this before the gasp, me and Chris were like, the best part of Binary Domain is how B-movie tier stupid it is.
Anytime Kane is on screen, it's awesome.
Just, that and fucking Big Bo early on.
Big Bo?
Big Bo?
What's that? Some kind of control panel? Yep.
This is also kudos to Adonis for bringing up Dr. Slump in the last episode. It's not often that people recognize Akira Toriyama for anything outside of Dragon Ball Z.
Which was technically 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Akira Toriyama, is he just the artist, or is he also the art director? I don't know if he does anything else but the art. He's the
Yeah,
character designer of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much like he's the artist in
He's
charge
the
of like
character designer.
like DBZ and like he also worked on Blue Dragon, which was the big collaboration he did
Yeah,
with
Mistwalker with Miyazaki.
yeah,
one that got totally overlooked.
Sakaguchi and
Yeah, not Miyazaki, Sakaguchi. The
yeah,
creator of Final
Sakaguchi
Fantasy. Yeah,
and Umatsu.
Matsu. How has
And
Mistwalker
Lost-
not put out like more incredible games considering the people on there?
Yeah,
I
and
guess Lost Odyssey was great.
so
Probably because they're very old school in how they deal with things, whereas the rest of the world seems to have kind of moved on from how JRPGs used to be.
Yeah,
Which
well, Blue
sucks,
Dragon's
but
like that,
that's-
but like Lost Odyssey was a good setup. And then
Yeah.
like, have they done anything since then? Or you know what? They just released the mobile game.
yeah, Terra
Terra
Battle.
Battle, which I've actually heard is pretty good. Let's see. Lesser degree Dragon Quest. I've heard people bitch that Dragon Quest rips off Dragon Ball Z. Weird emoticon on my Gmail.
What?
It's because people are stupid.
Yeah.
Let's
Yes,
see.
they are.
Also, Dr. Slump is a classic. Let's see. So my question is, what are some of your favorite overlooked games? I could list a few, like Solid Robo, Rhythm Thief, Eternal Sonata, but I would say Rogue Galaxy is the most overlooked, at least for me. I started working at GameStop after Rogue Galaxy was released, and remember people asking for good RPGs on PS2, and I'd recommend it only to have it passed up for the first Final Fantasy game within arm's reach. Sad face. We also had new copies for $10 a few years ago that got field destroyed because GameStop was too dumb to convert them to use at the time, and whenever I see the game nowadays, it's usually pretty cheap. Looking forward to everyone's responses. Happy holidays. Thanks, Dale. So, the question is, what are some of your favorite overlooked games?
I know the. Oh, you go ahead.
No, okay. Two of my favorite games of all times happen to be very, very overlooked games by the masses. The first one is Dark Cloud 2, developed by Level 5.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Dark Cloud franchise. I love the way the game plays. I love being able to build my own towns, all that.
You can follow Brandon at New Dark Cloud.
You can also petition New Dark Cloud.
And that is
Use
no
Twitter.
coincidence, just for the record. That is not a coincidence.
I remember when I first met Brandon, I thought it was some kind of, like, I almost thought it was like a Good Charlotte lyric emo joke or something. It's like I could imagine that being like a song title. Called,
I mean,
like,
in
This Is My New Dark
retrospect,
Cloud.
it sounds very try-hardy.
Well, it just sounds like an emo lyric to me. It's like, this is my new dark cloud.
I had a teacher ask me what the point of that email was. Like, if I was going through the dark period, like, no, it's a video game title. And then
Yeah.
they just stopped talking about it.
Oh,
But
I thought you were gonna say the teacher started talking to you. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
the other one that I would bring up is the Wild Arms 3. Like, all the Wild Arms games are pretty obscure for the most
Mhm.
part.
Yeah.
But Wild Arms 3 in particular is is my favorite of them, and they're really good JRPGs.
And that was
Just
on
general-
PS2, wasn't it?
Yes, it
PS1
was.
and PS2, right? I think the
Wild
first
Arms
one.
3 was PS2.
Yeah.
Wild Arms 1 and 2 were PS1 games.
Yeah, Wild Arms seems always like one of those cult classic RPGs that like really big RPG fans will be like, oh, they're great, and like nobody else
One of
ever
the
talks
things
about them.
I like in particular about Wild Arms, past 2, is that a lot of those RPGs had problems with random encounters, and Wild Arms really wasn't that much of an exception.
Mhm.
But you could actually cancel random encounters if you did it infrequently enough, and if you were really overleveled in the dungeon, you just flat out say, "I don't want to fight this guy," and then just you move on with your life. You didn't have to actually fight. If you were like 10 levels or more above the dungeon you were in, you didn't have to fight any random encounters. Period. End of discussion. If you
Yeah,
didn't want.
that's almost like an MMO trope of like once you get super overleveled, the mobs just won't fight you anymore.
Well, no,
Yep.
they will. You can't. They will pop up on the screen, but you can just press circle to cancel them out,
Yeah,
as if they never happened.
I think it's something that more RPGs could adopt.
It really, like, back then, since random encounters were so rampant, that was a huge thing. Just that one little mechanic, just saying, "Oh no, I don't want to fight right now. I'm busy."
I got shit to do.
Yeah, but those are my two answers.
So to kind of make this brief, a game that one of my favorite games back on the original DS was a game called Custom Robo, or Custom Robo Arena. Yeah, Custom Robo Arena specifically because it's really, like, to my knowledge, it's only one of two Custom Robo games that made it to the US. The first one was simply called Custom Robo and it was on the GameCube, and that one was kind of mediocre but The second one, Arena, was actually, I thought, was really good because it was essentially Pokemon, but instead of collecting monsters, you were collecting robot parts, and you were basically just battling in a virtual arena. And what was cool about the DS game was that it had a top-down 2D perspective, you know, like a JRPG, and when you got into fights, then it was a three-dimensional, like 64-bit, like three-dimensional arena, and then you could move around the whole thing, and then whatever weapons and crazy shit you equipped your robot with. Like, I just loved the concept, and the combat works really well because it's almost like a third-person shooter when you're playing that game. It's really weird, but yeah, it's like, you know, being able to collect different parts and build your own little robot, and then you fight against dudes, and then like having all kinds of multiplayer opportunities for that. I think it really sucks that Nintendo doesn't really do anything else with it because it is a first-party IP. Custom Robo is, and it doesn't seem like they do anything else with it, though. I mean, and if they do, it may only be in Japan, but so far, like I've said, only 2 of those have come out in the US, and the DS game was obviously way better. I felt it kept my attention a lot longer, and it didn't bore me, and I thought it was really interesting. And like, I even went back to it after I beat the main story, and like just to get more parts and crazy shit that you can unlock in it. But yeah, no one talks about it, though. No one seems to know that that game exists. And I think that's just kind of sad because I would love to see more stuff like it.
I think that's good. I remember playing that back in middle school. A couple of us had copies of it. And I believe it had one of the share things where you didn't have to have a copy of the game, and you could play with like like default setups. So like in middle school band class, we'd have the extra time after, you know, doing whatever routines or after a prep rally or whatever, and we'd just grab our DS like, oh, let's play Custom Robo for like half an hour. It was a big game to us back then.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I wish we could see more stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember playing an old PS2 game called Virtual on Mars that I think was pretty bad, but it was kind of like that.
I'm gonna say no, but that would be here all day comparing.
Yeah. You guys keep thinking because I don't know, man.
Garrett, any games that you feel are overlooked that you really love, or?
Yeah. Let's see. I have a list of 3. One of them is actually Limbo. You guys know Limbo. Not enough people know about Limbo, and I like not enough people have played against Limbo. It was a big thing when it came out. It was a big thing for like a week, and then it stopped being a big thing. So I put Limbo on there, which kind of explains itself. If you've played it, you know why. It's a very fun puzzle game. Okay, I remember another one I was going to put on here now. Mirror's Edge. I might as well just take that off completely. Mirror's Edge. That one, it came out. People were like, "Oh yeah, Mirror's Edge is okay," and then they stopped talking about it. I really love Mirror's Edge. I love the game.
I love the first half of Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, but man, that first half is real good.
It was real good. Then it stopped being good.
Then it just shit all over itself, and it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
It's just like, more guns! We need more guns! I'm like, no! Please stop!
Oh man, Mirror's Edge, why'd you shit the bed?
What? It didn't even shit the bed, it just had diarrhea just forever.
I shit the bed so hard, too.
Its ass became a sewage plant. You're like, no.
It's but so sad because the first half is awesome.
The first half, it's fantastic. It really tried getting away. It tried getting away from the gunplay, and it said, what you're doing is you're doing very fast land navigation, and that was a very cool idea to be able to do parkour. And the way they did it, the way they presented it, it was very good.
And again, those parts play really, really well.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of them.
Yeah.
And having gone back and playing it again recently, since being in game dev class and knowing how to make a game, I'm looking at it going, damn, this must have taken a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be the recent remake of Splatterhouse. The recent remake of Splatterhouse. I fucking love that game. I was thinking, I was trying to think. I'm like, what the fuck? I put Limbo, and then I thought, what other game? And I look over to my left, and right there next to Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell is Splatterhouse.
Naturally, they go hand in hand.
well, alphabetical.
Yeah, that remake was better than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah,
like,
we're like, it sucked. I'm like, are you kidding? It was seriously some of the most fun I had in a video game that year. Just running around beating the shit out of things, and one of the QuickTime, it's not even QuickTime. It's like you just use the thumb. You use the thumbsticks in certain directions to tear things open and stuff. And one of the things is like you're repeatedly pushing on the right thumbstick to like punch in this thing's ass and then pull out its heart from its ass.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
that's so. Oh man, that's so gross.
I was like, it's grossy, but I love Splatterhouse. Like, yeah, it's not a great game. If I had to, I'd give it. I think I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. It gets a 6 out of 10 game wise. That's not great, but just for sheer fun.
Yeah, it's a good game.
It's a fun game. It's a fun, stupid game, and it's one of those games that I will always defend. And then the very last one is a PSP classic that people don't know about. I've had this game since I had a PSP, and I absolutely love it, and not enough people talk about it. Well, I mean, it's on the first PSP, but the game is Deadhead Fred.
I've heard about that.
I've heard of that game.
Yeah, it was. I forget the actor's name who did the voice for it, but
it's great. It's got a great story. It's got a great atmosphere. It's a crime noir, and you can swap heads, and that brings forth a lot of puzzles and a lot of platforming tricks, and the characters are great. The story is clever, and the writing is clever. The characters are enjoyable. The whole story is creative. Everything it's a really good game, and yeah, it's got a couple problems here and there, but overall it's really good. I was gonna say Daxter, but because of Jack and Daxter, everyone knows about Daxter. Deadhead Fred, not a whole lot of people know about, and I really love that game.
It might have been more of the fault of the PSP though, and that was just not popular here.
Yeah, the PSP. I loved the PSP, and I remember my brother was like, "I've got a Nintendo DS." I was like,
PSP had some really great games. It was just the DS had more above average games.
Yeah,
like there were just more games like that were at least decent. PSP, it's like there's a few gems and that's it, but they were really good gems.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm like, I want to get a PS
like
Vita.
What's the Final Fantasy fighting game?
Dissidia.
Dissidia's pretty
That's
awesome.
a really good game, dude.
Yeah, Dissidia's great. It's on my Vita now, which is even better. It's a better screen.
You should play sometime.
Yeah.
Sam, did you think of any overlooked games that you really enjoyed, or?
Yeah, I thought of one just when Garrett was talking about Deadhead Fred. Have you guys ever heard of a game called Stubbs the Zombie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
People need to talk more about Stubbs the Zombie.
That game was worked on by one of the original founders of Bungie. When that dude split, like one of the original founders of Bungie, like I can't name the guy, but he left Bungie, started up his own studio, and this was like the first game they made.
He was not part of Destiny.
No. I mean, hell, he probably wasn't even part of like subsequent Halo games, but still, like they made Stubbs the Zombie as like their first game, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Stubbs Zombie's great. It just like the 50s style and this humor is actually pretty good, which humor in a video game has always been hard to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the only thing I can really think of is mostly just overlooked RPGs, just because I don't play that many, so the ones I do play I find really enthralling. Like, there's one that I adore called Atelier Iris 3.
Heard of that.
Fantastic.
I've heard of that. I haven't played any of the Interior series.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So this was one I just picked up randomly, and it's just got, a really cute art style, and the thing that I love most about it, at least from what I've played, and that's like halfway through, is that it's not the end of the world story. Like, the whole story is just, I have this book that'll grant a wish if I can get all the pages of the book. It's not like, oh, the world's coming to an end, we need heroes, and I hate that story RPGs. I hate that the world is always at risk.
Because it's an easy story to write.
Yeah. So, supposedly, I think that is later on, but I'm glad at least for the first half, which is most of it, because you're, like, bounty hunters in a small town, is, like, side stories. So you'll just go one story, and it's like, there's some weird ghost haunting the library, and you go there, and it's like the ghost of a little girl, and it's like, yeah, I died in this library somewhere. And it's like, oh, well, let's just figure out your story then. Or, like, you meet some girl, I can't remember her name. She's like a chick who wears, cloth rabbit ears. And, like, got separated from her sister because she became a total villain. and she joins you. Name's like Nil, I think.
Hmm.
Plus, my favorite thing about that game ever is that if you go up to a barrel, and you just hit the X button, they just go barrel, barrel, barrel. And then if you do it in Japanese, you get the great Japanese voice if you do that. So they go battle, battle, battle.
Oh god.
Every time, like sometimes if you get like it's a different character every time. So sometimes you'll get Nil go like it's a barrel. I'm like yeah it is. Check out that barrel. Like it's just the stupidest little thing to add into a game, but it makes me laugh every time I play it.
That reminds me of Manakamiya.
Yeah, but God, just like that is a little RPG gem from the PS2 era. That's probably dirt cheap, and I don't think it's like the greatest battle system, the greatest story, but it's like I like the small setting of just one town and a couple of dungeons, and I like the really small scope of just like I'm just gonna get a book to make a wish, and you know it's like otherwise I don't know. Like, it's just like a girl named Atsuler, or Iris, and she's just really happy hanging out with this guy Edge, and that's all they do. I was like, yeah, it's just a cute little story. I would also maybe say Star Ocean: The Last Hope, just because I thought it was okay. I don't think it's
that was the one
great.
I haven't played yet. I've played the other 3.
Yeah. I think Star Ocean's pretty good. I've heard the PS2 one's the best. Or
yeah,
one of the best.
Till the End of Time.
Yes, that one I have. I started up at one point.
Although the plot twist in that game is crazy.
Is it like Knights of the Old Republic 1 plot twist?
I don't want to say anything more about that on the air.
Okay. So is it worth playing though? Like, should I pick it up right now and put it in my PS3?
Definitely, you should get it right now.
Okay. Or not my PS3, my PS2. Forgot. Fucking backwards compatibility.
You should go get it right now. Like, if you stop recording, I'll let you.
Just podcast over. I gotta go play this. So yeah, I think like Star Ocean just kind of like, hey, a mention, but if I had to just choose like one of like, dude, fucking play this, Atsuo Iris, because that's coming from someone who doesn't play RPGs, because I find super mechanically intensive games really daunting. So when I played that, it is just the right balance of difficulty, fun, small scope, neat characters, humor. It's one of my favorite RPGs ever. And no one fucking knows about him because there's a million Atsuo games.
Yeah.
And I played other ones, and they're just not as engaging to me. Like, that was the only one where I liked the characters. So yeah, let's try more Atsuo.
We spent a lot of time on that one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Alright, we're on to the next one?
Sure.
Wait, Brandon, did you do yours?
Yeah. First.
Okay. We got one from Adonisis saying, hey guys, thanks for letting me on the show, and I hope to do it again very soon. Anyway, here are my questions. First, do you guys have an old school genre of video games you wish to make a comeback? I personally miss the plethora of platformers that used to be a part of my childhood, but it seems that these games are no longer considered relevant. So answer that before we get to question 2. I can't think of many dead genres is the thing.
Yeah, that's when I read the question.
Especially
I couldn't think of anything out of the genres that have died that I would actually want to come back.
Well, I mean, first you have to consider, like, what's even dead with the indie scene today. Like, you could argue the platform genre is still very much alive. It's just not AAA anymore. It's all indie games.
Yeah, especially with indie games in general, because it's like, yeah, with AAA, a lot of stuff doesn't really seem to get that much attention anymore. Like platformers, like you said, but there's a good number of them in the indie market.
Arguably too many.
Maybe.
But like, there's like strategy game, 4X strategy games are still around with like Sins of a Solar Empire and Endless Legend and stuff like that. Old school RPGs with Divinity Original Sin are still around, or old school CRPGs. I mean, like Baldur's Gate style.
Yeah, because it's kind of
Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of like one. Like I think first we should consider what genres are technically dead that we could even if you don't like them. Like,
we could probably argue
big name platformers are definitely one.
Yeah, it's like character-based platformers, like mascot-based like games like that. You don't really see a whole lot of anymore. Something that
you don't see many character action games, but I'm not sure it's dead as much as just very small market.
Probably,
like
yeah.
Devil May Cry's of the world, Ninja Gaiden kind of died with the PS2 era.
And in some cases, some people would argue that's like the next-gen iteration of the beat-em-up, which,
yeah,
if I had to say anything, like beat-em-ups probably, but
yeah, beat-em-ups are pretty much fucking dead.
Yeah, well,
the old ones anyway, because character actions just beat-em-ups mechanically intensive.
I mean, and recently, something that we got that was close to a beat-em-up was Anarchy Reigns, which is a fantastic game that I highly recommend.
Yeah, there's one to add to your list of games no one's fucking heard of, but probably would like.
Probably, yeah. Anarchy Reigns is fucking great. Like, that game came out and it was $30 right off the bat. Like, here you go. Like,
I should get a copy of that. I've been meaning to forever.
Get it on PS3 because that's what I own it for.
All right, we're gonna do it, and then Brandon's gonna get one, and we're gonna fucking
on that shit.
I'll get an Elgato, and we'll record it. It'll be great.
Oh man, awesome.
Fucking yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, but
scheduling stuff in the middle of podcasts is great.
I don't know if you guys can think of any other genres that are.
I would like to see some new old school beat 'em ups, just like because I played Double Dragon Neon with a friend, and it's like being that I never played that style of games as a kid, it was super fun to just sit down for a single evening and be like, all right, this game's like 3 hours, we're just gonna laugh, it's super dumb, like there's no way to like ultimately fail the game, so we didn't have much trouble with it. Like it was just fun. I think I would like to see more AAA platformers, though I'm curious what the hell that would mean in today's world.
Yeah,
like,
I would
production values have gotten so out the
platforms make returns like $10 budget games, like a $10 reboot of Spyro or something. That'd be great.
Just like what would like a $60 platformer be like today, though?
I wouldn't imagine it being $60 anymore. I can't imagine that much money actually going into a platformer.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing of like, what would you even do today? Because
it would probably be like
production values have gotten so insane that you would have to add different stuff to it.
If they did it again that way they did in the past, it'd probably be like a $15 or $20 download on the PSN or Xbox Live store.
I mean, if it was a 61, it would have to be like a platformer action game, hack and slash action game with RPG elements. Like it has to mix genres to qualify the production.
Hell, that's essentially like what Skylanders was like Swap Force in particular. Where
a lot of the old Spyro purists can't stand Skylanders.
I know, I get that, and I totally understand why, but
well, boo-hoo for them.
Like Swap Force in particular.
I'm not saying that you're right or wrong for liking Skylanders. It's a great game.
But like Swap Force in particular, because that game introduced jumping.
That seems like a big deal.
You couldn't jump in previous games.
Oh my! I didn't know that. Oh my god.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the previous games were like,
here's... game where you can't jump. Fucking incredible.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like the previous games were essentially baby's first Diablo. And then...
I do like Diablo.
Yeah, but then, like, when Swap Force came out, they pretty much just made it a platformer of, like, jumping and... Because climbing on shit was a big deal in that. Which was how they justify, like, some of the characters. But that's a whole can of worms I don't want to get into, but it's... Yeah. If they wanted to make like a big AAA $60 platformer, it'd kind of be like that.
I would also like to see more Diablo-style, like, loot madness games. They're just like, like Torchlight was there, and then we had the free-to-play one that I can't remember the name of that was really popular for a while.
Path of Exile.
Yeah, Path of Exile.
Path of Exile is fantastic.
Yeah, that seems like another genre that didn't really die, but it just kind of got really niche.
You went briefly silent for a second there, Garrett. Like you got for a brief southern twang.
Channel Joel for a second there.
Yeah.
Seriously, Path of Exile is awesome. I need to start playing that again.
You and me both.
Oh god, what have I done?
You've reminded us of a game that we haven't played in a while. Thank you.
Oh no.
Okay, so
is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Follow-up question. With the knowledge that Nintendo is in fact hard at work on a new Star Fox game, I'd like to know what you guys would like to see in it. Anything new that you'd like to add to the formula? Any characters you'd like to see appear or not appear? Should simply die in a fire. Thanks, Adonis.
Yeah, no getting out of the fucking vehicle. We don't need on-foot missions.
I mean, the thing is, like,
Stop
I barely ever played Star Fox as a kid. That's just a little bit of 64, so I have no real opinions on Star Fox.
You guys, I can't answer this.
I don't know.
If you wanted to ask me if I ever thought an on-rails game was ever fun, fucking Star Fox. Because that game did it right. And the thing was, like, because I've played, like, every game. And, we did get, like, good ones even after... Star Fox 64, which a lot of people claimed, like, oh, that was the end-all be of the series, and nothing is ever going to be as good as that. And that's when I say, fuck you, you probably did not play Star Fox Command on the DS, which was good. And Star Fox Command is interesting because a lot of ideas that they incorporated into that, they originally wanted to use some of that stuff for Star Fox 2, which was a game that never saw the light of day on the Super Nintendo.
Yep, but there's a ROM dump out there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean there was all kinds of like screenshots and crazy shit of its existence, but it never saw the light. It never got like a full-on release. Mm-hmm. But like some of the ideas that they wanted to use in that got used in Star Fox Command because that's the thing. Miyamoto didn't come up with Star Fox. It was done by an American developer, whom his name. Yeah, his name escapes me, but he's a guy, and he's the dude that came up with Star Fox. Any of the games that he worked on personally, those are the ones that are good, which is why the Super Nintendo game's great, the N64 one is good, and then the DS game. But because like Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault, he had nothing to do with those.
And it shows.
Yeah, and Star Fox Assault, for what it's worth, there's some okay stuff to that game, especially when you are flying a fucking ship or in a tank. But when you're on foot, you don't need that shit. Having it on foot, that was Miyamoto's idea. Because the dude who made Star Fox, again, referring back to this guy, he was the one, like, a lot of the reasons why I don't think he cared to do stuff anymore was because he got so tired of Nintendo letting Miyamoto do whatever he wanted, even if it was something that, like, it's his, like, Star Fox was his series. It was something that he came up with, and if Miyamoto wanted to step in and change anything, they fucking let him, and he couldn't say anything about it. And I can understand why he'd be pissed about that. I would be too if I was in his shoes. Because, like, Miyamoto was a guy, it's like, well, why didn't he get out of the vehicle? No, because that's fucking stupid. Why would you ever do that? Like, and granted, that's not to say that it can't be done right, but I've yet to see it done right. Like, and if you want to say Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet, fuck you. That level design was so terrible. But as far as like a new Star Fox game, I remember when they were originally showing off tech demos for the first Wii game, and I was like, oh man, a Star Fox game with the Wiimote would be awesome. Especially if they took advantage of like motion controls to the point where you would have to hold the Wiimote vertically with two hands, or at least one hand, and hold it like do you get what I'm saying?
Like a flight stick?
Yeah, if you held the Wiimote like a flight stick.
Yeah.
Because the trigger is right there, and like the A button for the bomb, that would be so fucking good.
I wonder if any game did that, now that I think about it.
No, nothing did.
That's so weird. Happened. That seems like a real missed opportunity.
Yes.
What?
What? I could have sworn like Pilot Wings did something with that.
Garrett, did you say something, or?
You said yeah.
Oh no. I was about to say I'm surprised none of them did it because I was actually thinking that I was. No, I know one game that kind of did it, and it was Indiana Jones on the Nintendo Wii.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did that Indiana Jones game where like you had to use the whip. Like,
oh well, I was about to say there was a mini game where you're flying a plane in that game, and you hold.
Really?
You hold the Wiimote, and if you want to go down, you push it forward, or pull it up to go up.
Is this gonna be Chris's next Let's Play? This random Indiana Jones game just to find out one part.
Find this. I know it existed. If I find this, I'm gonna fucking buy it.
It's a good purchase, I'm sure.
I was playing it. I was going, oh yes.
Yeah, as far as like what I want out of a new Star Fox game, like just focus on the vehicle combat and that's it. Don't worry about bullshit on don't worry about having to, because it's one of those things where the engine is made to do like one thing really well, and if you try to do other shit with it, it just does not. It feels really clunky. Like there are a lot of games that do that. Like if anybody remembers, there was a Star Wars Rogue Squadron game. I think it was called Rebel Assault on the GameCube. It was like the second, it was like the second one they did, and then they introduced like on-foot missions, and they were terrible. They were so terrible. Fucking, I'm looking at my shelf right now. It is.
I feel like every racing game, driving game, flying game that has on-foot missions is fucking terrible. Like I remember this little PSP game called Pursuit Force that had on-foot missions that were fucking awful.
Oh god, yeah, I played that.
Yeah, which sucks because it's a good driving game as far as
it is.
Stupid PSP fun. But it's like every time they're always like, I don't know, like the old driver game for the PS2, Parallel Lines has on-foot stuff, and it's like, it's terrible. Like, you think people would learn, like, oh, these other 50 games with on-foot sections are pretty bad. Maybe we should just not do an on-foot section.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's really just all I gotta say about it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I don't have opinions on Star Fox, but if it's good, I'll get it. I have a Wii U. I like good games. So
I don't have any particularly strong opinions of Star Fox, so.
All right. All that being said, should we get on to the second part, which is Garrett? Why the hell did you choose what you chose for all your Game of the Year stuff?
Well, I picked Evil Within as Game of the Year because the game has incredible presentation. Although I picked Watch Dogs more as the game that presented the best presentation for two reasons. I picked Watch Dogs because the game surprised me more when I first booted it up in its presentation than Evil Within, and also I didn't want Evil Within to have two things. I didn't want
In what way did it surprise you? Just out of curiosity.
Well, when I came in, just how polished it was, just how close to the original E3, and I knew it wasn't going to be the exact E3. It was just when that game came out, when Watch Dogs came out, how nice it looked, how well everything worked together, how like the civilians and how they interacted, everything was.
This reminds me
really,
a lot of
really
our
nice.
discussion on expectations.
Yeah.
Like that you knew going in it wasn't going to look as good. Your expectations were very different from most people. And that definitely explains why you said that.
The gameplay for Evil Within was done properly and has really given the survival horror series its due. It's returned the mechanics worked out nicely, and it returned the series back to what made the survival horror genre work in the first place. It easily could have become another action game like Resident Evil 6, but instead it stayed true to what it was, and it really surpassed my original expectations. Maybe I'm just biased, I don't know, but I really enjoyed my time with it, and I can't vote I can't vote an alpha as Game of the Year.
Well,
and I wouldn't have voted Evolve as Game of the Year either, but I really couldn't think of anything else to vote for.
I'll be really curious. I have to read it myself, but there's an article by Steve Gaynor, who was the guy who wrote and directed Gone Home, and he did an article called "Don't Look Back," a look on current-day survival horror games. And he was talking about his problem with them is that they are being too regressive. Which I guess is definitely a thing of taste, though, where it's like, do you still want more of those games, or are you tired of
that was why
the same old thing?
Was so mixed perception is that a lot of people who were getting kind of sick of the old way survival horror was going.
Yeah, because now that I remember it, there were some really mixed.
But if you're okay with the way the classic horror games worked, it was right up your alley. Yeah. It was so mixed because of that very reason.
Yeah, I totally forgot how mixed the reviews for Evil Within were, though. Because now I only remember the bad stuff now, but I do remember when it came out, some people were like, "Oh, this is fucking awesome."
It was a polarizing game.
Yeah, and I guess it really just depends on your feelings on old, pre-Resident Evil 4 survival horror games. I definitely need to play more of that because I've only played up to Chapter 4, which is not really much to give an opinion on. I've watched up to Chapter 7, and it seems to get a lot better. What were the other ones? You did Pagan Min as best character. I felt like I defended that pretty well, but is there anything else you'd like to say about it? I like Pagan Min. I think he's a good character. For me, the only problem I have with him is he's a little too much like Voss.
Flamboyant.
Too flamboyant. A little bit. But I thought Pagan was just the kind of character that Far Cry needs. Much like with Voss, that's really what holds the Far Cry games together. Yeah,
it's sanity, and I like how. I can't really spoil anything about the game, but he's a very likable character who people who are saying they wanted to kill him off and stuff like that. I don't get that because he's never.
You beat the game?
No, I watched a walkthrough on it. I want to actually play the game myself because I was able to play some of it.
The ending, so I know what you're talking about when you say that because the ending is very interesting. It's it's not completely mind blowing, but it's kind of like, oh, okay.
And I've seen all the endings. I've seen all 3 of them, and I know how I would play the game. I know how I'm gonna play the game when I actually get my hands on it again.
Going for that secret ending.
Yeah, because it's the best ending, and that's what I would do. That's what I would have done in real life too, because he's never threatening towards you, and
it's very. I think the only thing is it would be way more stunning if it hasn't been done before, because it's very Spec Ops in that sense. It's very much like, hey, this is what you as the player did. Why did you do this? And it's like, well, it's because you're playing a game. But it's still a very good. It's still a good twist, and I wish more games would talk more about what the player does and how that affects people. Wolfenstein also did a bit of that.
And just what he does, it's not quite like Vaz where he's absolutely unpredictable. It's unpredictable, but at the same time, his unpredictability still makes him sort of a threat, but he's still kind of soothing. He's very charismatic. He's
much more in control than Vaz was. Vaz seemed like very unhinged, like he would just snap and shoot himself at any moment.
Yeah, that was a thing. He could actually you could see him shooting himself. Pagan, I wouldn't see shooting himself.
No, he knows exactly what he wants to do.
Yeah.
What were the other awards we did? You guys remember? Off chance.
I can bring up my annotations of that. Breast presentation. We already went over that.
Yep. No, I was thinking of some new stuff that I kind of wanted to mention, but
Elder Scrolls Online most disappointing for Garrett. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, we don't need explanations for that.
I don't need to. He needs to defend that.
Yeah, we've talked about that back when it came out.
Transistor as most underrated.
I wanted to put that just because when it came out, I didn't really hear anything about it. So I was a little confused about that.
That's fair.
That was,
the way we talked about it is that it seems definitely like what circles you follow, because the people I knew would shut up about it, but it depends on like. But the people I follow are like game writers, like hardcore critics. So like they dug deep into that game. Like the average person though would be like, I don't know, it looks artsy as shit. So I can definitely see how it'd be underrated for someone who doesn't follow a lot of like super critics.
Alien Isolation is biggest surprise.
Because Colonial Marines.
Yeah, that's also fairly self-explanatory in a way.
Because me and Chris played Colonial Marines.
Yep.
But Garrett did not have a nomination for Best Atlas game that Brandon has played this year.
It's true. Would you like to fulfill that now?
One of the Persona games.
Good choice.
Good choice.
Everybody chose a different one. And Brandon didn't play the one that I mentioned, so that's even better.
You didn't play Persona 3 this year, so you couldn't
Persona 3 is Game of the Year. Every year.
So yeah, let's get to the actual podcast part of this fucking podcast.
Yeah, well, we're on part 1 of the actual part of the podcast, which is news!
Yeah, so...
Everything caught on fire this week.
Yeah, the fucking...
Xbox One for Christmas? Nope!
Hey, you have that shiny Poo PS4? I hope you got a box copy, because otherwise you're fucked. Oh, man. Dude, fucking my coworker, when I was talking to him about getting Xbox One, he got the Assassin's Creed bundle, and he's like, I waited all fucking day to download Unity. And that was... I was like...
I had a guy who came in, because he had bought Inquisition online on PS4, and the hack occurred as he was about to finish the download. So it corrupted the download. When we got to delete it and reinstall it, he couldn't even sign on.
I would just be like, I'm never playing Dragon Age. Fuck it.
Fuck you, Lizard Republic or Sobe or whatever the fuck it's called.
He was so pissed, and I felt so bad for the poor guy.
It sucks.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute, Sam. Somebody bought, because I know they had that whole thing of buying Xbox One, you get Unity bundled with it or whatever.
Yes.
You're saying they had, download codes, it's not a box.
They were vouchers.
Oh my god,
they were voucher codes.
It's a redeemable code for Black Flag.
Oh shit!
So imagine being a kid who got an Xbox One and they just wanted Assassin's Creed, so that's all they got.
Hey, Assassin's Creed! Nope.
Fuck.
Nope, not ABI.
I thought it was funny though that Assassin's Creed was the top-selling game in Xbox just because of those redeemed codes. So it considered the top-selling because it was the most downloaded game.
Yeah.
I'm a respective parent, and I'm buying my child Assassin's Creed. He stabs people in the throat.
I
had a lot of parents actually had problems buying Xbox One because they had the Assassin's Creed game bundled in with it.
They had a problem with that?
Yeah, because we only got the Assassin's Creed bundle at our store.
Oh, you didn't get the regular 350 one?
No, they didn't sell them at all during the holiday season.
Oh, weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. See, I could picture a parent being like, I don't even know what my kid playing that. He's too young. I'd be like, okay, I understand
I told him just take the voucher.
Yeah, let's get Call of Duty instead. It's much better for the kids. Fucking, I had a really weirdly surreal moment where I was delivering a pizza to somebody yesterday, last night, and, like, through the front door, I could see the living room, and the kid was just playing GTA 5. And I had this weird moment where it's like, I know as a kid I played GTA, but it's still, I feel, like, wrong that a kid so young, he's like 9, playing GTA 5. It's like, that game is fucking horrific!
I tell you what, as a parent,
it has a really intense torture scene.
A bit more strictly to the, ESRB ratings than my parents probably did for me.
Yeah.
So, kind of on a related note to that is, I have a like 10, 11-year-old nephew, and he enjoyed playing the previous GTA games like Vice City. Like that was one that he played all the time, and I'll admit those ones aren't that bad simply because those previous games
they're cartoony and they look dumb and they're like not kitschy. They're like stupid humor, but then 4 was like super deadpan serious, and that's what shit got weird.
And the fact is, of course,
I come to no country for new life.
Things look a lot more realistic now, and not to mention the fact GTA 5 in particular, topless women, like actual topless, like nipples were rendered. I mean, before you go into a strip club in a GTA game, like Vice City especially, it's just this polygonal model shaking her polygonal ass, and it's like no big deal. It's like
wearing a bra and everything.
But this, it's like you get actual toplessness going on here. Like it's insane.
I don't really have... This is more of a, like, ethical discussion. I don't have much of a problem with nudity, but when I saw that, I wasn't even thinking about him shooting people or whatever, this young kid. The thing that came to mind was specifically the torture scene, where you, like, fucking rip some dude's teeth out, and, like, you, like, rip a dude's teeth out, you do, like,
aren't you, like, waterboarding him with gasoline?
Yes, you waterboard him, you, like, just... And it takes, like, an hour, like, during this mission. You just, like, cut back to it intermittently, and it takes way too long. And I remember people saying, like, I play a lot of games. This makes you deeply uncomfortable because it's just too real, and it takes too long. But they play it for, like, a sort of joke where it's like, Trevor's insane. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think it's that funny or entertaining. I think it's just sadistic.
Getting back to the whole service system down and everything.
Oh, right.
Something...
right.
Yeah, well, like, because PSN and Xbox Live got taken down. Now, Xbox Live, they managed to get that up relatively quick.
It was up on a basic capacity by that evening. Downloads are still super slow, but it is up.
PSN has a bit more trouble.
Yeah, PSN, like, I still can't log into it on my PS3.
I was supposed to say is having a bit more trouble.
I feel bad for Sony, man, because they're just constantly getting fucking knocked around, and it seems like their system is just not up to
par. Yeah. And then there's Xbox, like, we can't get hacked, and they get hacked, and the next day they're fine. I honestly think...
I mean, it's Microsoft, though. Like, I would be astonished.
If Microsoft could get themselves back online quickly, there would be a massive problem. Because that's basically their entire business.
Yeah, but I honestly think it's their security, and I think they pay for it with the money that we pay in buying Xbox Live Gold. I think that money really goes to the security.
That was the thing with PS Plus, is people asked why they charged it. I don't know if this is true. This is something I saw around Twitter. Is that apparently when people asked about why charge for PS Plus, they said one of the things is they want enhanced security. And then
there you go.
That was getting thrown around because of this. They were like, so where's my enhanced security?
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing... the other end of the sword on that, if you will, is the fact that Microsoft as a company, they understand the internet. They understand what makes it work, how to make it secure.
It's really their business.
Also, because they're Microsoft, they probably get hacked like Google, probably like every day. Someone attempts to hack them. Like,
well, it's not like Sony. It's not like Sony's not having that kind of work right now. I mean, it's
but I feel like Microsoft. I feel like whatever Sony gets, Microsoft's getting it much worse, just because they're a huge company that deals all kinds of electronics.
Yeah. But, as I had mentioned, Microsoft, they know the internet, and they know it very, very well. Sony, I don't think they know it that well. Sony is really more, they're really more hardware people. Yeah. Because they know how to make a fucking DVD player and Blu-ray and all this other shit.
DVD player.
But fuck if they need to do something with the internet, because as we've seen,
the
last
not Nintendo.
Nintendo's not doing too bad a job. I mean,
they're getting there, but
at the internet,
that's what I'm talking about. Though.
Stuff.
I don't know about you, Brandon, but I can still play fucking Mario Kart 8 online and access the eShop.
I saw so many jokes going around. It's like, hey guys, I'm still playing my Nintendo Wii U on Christmas. Like, there's so many jokes around that was just like, I can play my Nintendo Wii.
Something to kind of add insult to injury is the fact that, like, I'm looking on the PlayStation blog right now, and, some of the comments, and of course there's this one person that Sony actually responded to just basically saying, DDoS attacks ended almost a day ago. Keep in mind, Xbox Live is up and running since yesterday. And just them saying, we understand your frustration. Our engineers are working to restore service as quickly as possible. Like,
yeah, that was a tweet where they said it's coming back up gradually for everybody. They were like, we're putting some people on. Because I don't understand any technology stuff. And my understanding is when that happens, you just have to reset servers. Which is, I thought, why the downloads were slow, because Microsoft probably just reset all their stuff and only some of their servers were online.
Yeah, and I mean,
so download, it was just super slow.
Hacking and stuff aside, obviously a lot of people had a lot of time over the holidays, especially people who got their shiny new console on Christmas and, want to play that shit. I mean, it's, obviously there was a massive influx, so... Yeah,
I think that didn't help. And, that's why the hackers did that on that day. It was specifically for that.
Hey, you know what? Hackers especially, just stop. What good are you doing to society by fucking bombing everybody's day? Just hardworking people want to come home, play some shit, and for a fucking joke, you gotta fuck up their time and just be like, down now because DDoS. Like,
they even have a stated reason for the hack.
Yes, they literally the quote is for the lulz, LULZ.
I don't think anybody thinks it's funny.
Because Lizard Squad, in my understanding, is Infinite Chan people, which is a subsidiary of 4chan.
Like, who's this funny to?
To people who don't give a shit about anything.
I guess, damn, because...
To people who are just so nihilistic about the world that this is the only form of entertainment they know.
God, that's...
And before our podcast
like,
gets
fuck
off. Fuck you.
I mean, you have to admit, you have to have a pretty, nihilistic view of entertainment to just be like, everything in the world is not funny compared to ruining people's days.
Pretty much.
That's kind of really sad.
It's honestly kind of pathetic.
Yep.
But yeah, so aside from that, any other news?
The one thing I wanted to touch upon, which, is probably fairly old by this point, but, obviously we didn't have time to touch on it because of our previous shenanigans. Hatred.
Yeah.
I was hoping to never have to talk about this.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, just to get my opinion on it, without even discussing the game itself, I for one am never going to deny this game's right to exist. I'm not going to argue that nobody should ever be making a game like this because, let's be honest, the AAA industry does have a fair amount of murder and stuff in it. It's just that we don't really question it as much because it is under the guise of,
you're doing this for your country.
Yeah, but GTA, it's like, when you do think about it, sometimes there really isn't anything that separates hatred from GTA, and I know some people would split hairs on it, but when you're honest with yourself, dude, come on, people would do the same shit in GTA as what hatred is doing. And, and you really can't make a good argument against that. But, and I know Jim Sterling had kind of touched on this, I think it was kind of gross that Steam decided we're going to pull this down because we wouldn't publish it, despite the fact they put a lot of shit.
Here's the thing with that.
On the Steam storefront.
The only problem is that's kind of a weird argument because you're talking about quality of game versus content of game.
Yes.
Here's the thing with that is that I am totally okay with Steam choosing to put some games in their store and some games not in their store. I'm also okay with them being totally open, but they need to pick one of those two options and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because this halvesies bullshit is making everyone unhappy.
No.
If they want to censor games like Hatred and all that, they need to seriously clean up their act and clean up their store. If they don't, then you're going to have to accept that there's going to be a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I'm okay with either one of those, but they had better pick one. It's just a debate with the open versus closed garden approach to store. Yeah. And I'm okay with either one, but they got to be consistent. Like, Apple censors games on their store all the time. It's something that they do constantly, but no one questions it because Apple has always done that. They're very consistent in how they do it too.
Yeah, and it's the basic argument is protecting consumers over bad quality is what Apple will say.
If Steam wants to do that, then go ahead. But if you're not going to do that to all of the games that come on your store, I'm not interested.
And the thing was that some people tend to forget is, like, back in the early days in the 80s when Nintendo was first taking over the world back then with the original NES, that was something that they made a good habit of doing because Nintendo looked at the video game crash and said, we don't want shit like this to happen, so we want to improve our games for quality. And
of course, now the official Nintendo seal of approval doesn't really mean that much anymore.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Well, now it just says official Nintendo seal.
Yeah.
If you look at it.
But
I'm not kidding. Like, I remember looking at that one day. That's all it says. An official Nintendo seal. Which basically
I believe you.
And all that means is just cert. Like, it works. Is all it means now.
As far as hatred as a game, it's like, even if it wasn't on Steam, there really isn't anything to stop it from being sold. If the people who were making this really want to sell it, you know, they could put it up on their website or do anything they wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they will. Sold. They'll probably put it up on their website.
It's not censorship. It's not censorship for a store to say, I don't want to.
Yeah, that was what pissed me off. So everybody's saying it's censorship. Like, it's not, because it's a private
It is a private
storefront.
corporation saying, I don't want you in my store.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same reason why the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, would never care or want to have a game that gets an AO rating on their consoles,
and
because they feel like
no retailer will ever dare stock it.
No. And so as far as hatred, the game itself, you know, and I have some I would never want to play this myself for obvious reasons. And, you know, some people would say, well, you play GTA, but it's like, that's not how I play my GTA, granted.
Yeah, I've never
or the same thing with, like, Saints Row.
I mean, and if you just look at it, it looks bad.
Yes, it is very bad.
It looks bad and pathetic.
The thing, oh yes, absolutely,
it's
and that's
the
other
centipede of fucking video games. It's just yeah,
it really, like,
it's just needless schlock.
Looking at the game itself, it really is kind of a sad, pathetic cry of, look at me, look at how controversial I am, you know? And the thing is, the thing that I thought was hilarious was the quote from the lead producer of the game. He basically said, like, their intention behind it. Their intentions behind it was they were tired of how polite the gaming industry feels like it needs to be.
I believe they actually used political correctness in that quote.
Yes.
Yeah, they were
that. They've also used the term SJWs in quotes, which makes put off them.
Yeah, like, they think, like, the gaming industry is trying to be too polite or too politically correct, and I'm like, you haven't played any AAA games in the last 5 years, have you?
Have you been listening to for the past, like, year?
Fucking GTA 5.
I mean, like, have you seen anything that Anita Sarkeesian has looked at and say that games are politically correct?
Call of Duty. You can't tell me Call of Duty is politically correct.
Not to mention, Gamergate. Like,
I'm
Gamergate.
ready for 2 more comments!
In the past 10 years alone in the gaming industry, what can we say we've seen? We've seen Manhunt 2 and all of its controversy.
Censored.
It got censored, and then I uncensored it, as well as a whole bunch of other people who bought that game did by using
you can do that?
code.
Actually, technically,
Codebreaker 10
games don't get censored. The ESRB is not run by the government.
Well, I mean,
it is run
you're
by.
Right. I am misusing the word censored. It didn't get censored. They changed it so that the game would be stocked.
Yeah.
Which I think is the problem is that even I'm throwing around the word censored too loosely.
Censorship specifically refers to a government agency saying you can't.
And the U.S. government did not say this game can't be released because they say fuck it, you can do whatever you want.
And the ESRB is little do people know the ESRB is actually a private group of corporations that
it was made by people who play games for people who play games. Like, it was made by people who designed games for a living.
It was made
for us by us.
Garrett, you were trying to say something?
Anyway, you can use Codebreaker 10 to get past the stupid monochrome filter they put over
it's like a
executions.
noise filter of sorts.
Yeah, and you can get past it with Codebreaker 10. But anyway, yeah, Manhunt 2. We've had the airport scene from Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, no Russian. We've had Grand Theft Auto 5.
That fucking torture scene.
The torture scene.
There was the hot coffee thing.
We've had hot coffee. We've had
like the other thing
in Mass Effect, the romancing, the boobs, and just.
But like the other thing about that guy's comment is like he's trying to say like gamers are trying to be too like he acts like gamers are trying to be too polite. You've not played on Xbox Live at all, have you? Like.
Actually, you could just go to
You've not been on Twitter at all.
You know what you could do if you want to see people not being polite is just go to the hatred community page.
Oh god, now that is frightening.
Yeah, like, you know, Gamergate is what made me familiar with the idea of Poe's Law, which is just that, you know, at some point people either become extremists or parodies of extremists. And I noticed that when I saw on the community stuff, there were a whole bunch of comments that literally made me sick, where people were like, I want Anita, Sarkeesian, and Zoe Quinn as characters you can shoot.
Yeah,
and it's like, I really hope you're joking, because even then you're a sick fuck.
Yeah, that is
but
real
if you're
gross.
not, that is disgusting.
That was disturbing.
That is so bad.
And like the thing I hate about hatred isn't the game itself, because I'm like, do whatever the fuck you
it's
want.
The
Shock
people,
value otherwise.
Man.
I hate the community that supports hatred.
Yes.
Like, there are very few people who are like, I don't care, do whatever you want, but there are a lot of people who are like, I want to play this game and do this, and like, that's a little worrying.
But yeah, if you want more proof that the gaming community isn't still as polite as this guy thinks he is, have I got a website for you. It's called fatuglyerslutty.com.
Oh, great.
Yeah, go to that and read some...
It's called Twitter, #Gamergate. If you want to see the worst human beings I've probably seen in the past year.
Man.
Just play League.
Just fucking play a Call of Duty match on Xbox.
Garrett brings it, play League.
Yeah. Just in general, like, I don't voice chat on stuff because people are assholes.
Yeah.
Play a ranked game of League. Even if you guys win, your teammates are still gonna hate you.
Yeah. You'd be the best player, and they're like, you fucking suck. You stole my kills. You're like, what am I supposed to do? Not win?
Yeah, like, I'd love to know what world this guy lives in where he thinks that people are still trying to be too polite.
I mean, there's a small subsection of people on Twitter who are very nice individuals, but that's a very small section of gamers.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a really funny encounter recently on League. I was surprised with how I handled it.
Oh god.
We won. I played Gnar at top lane. He's a champion. I got 5 kills, 2 deaths, and 7 assists. Not great, but not bad. And I was told to uninstall and kill myself by my own teammates.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember you posting that to Twitter.
And yeah, I was like,
people take video games way too seriously.
Yep.
Like, we won. I didn't do bad, and I was like, this is the okay. All right, I'm okay with that.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The problem with MOBAs is that the time investment is so long for a single match that people get really into it.
Yeah.
Like, if those matches were like 5 minutes long, people wouldn't care nearly as much. It's that it takes an hour to play a match. And then ultimately lose.
And it's so big with how popular that game has become.
God.
I think so many people know about it, even if they don't play it.
This whole hatred thing has just reignited the idea that, yes, people are terrible human beings, in general.
Yes. Yeah,
people suck. Great.
Yeah.
Glad we brought that up.
Congratulations, you suck.
Yeah, that was a better conversation than I expected to have about hatred, considering the stuff I've seen go around. And it seems like we all stand on the same thing. It's like, I don't deny this game to exist. It can exist for all at once. I just don't like the people who support it.
Yeah, that, and like, the game itself really does kind of seem like they're just trying way too hard just to get attention and to where it feels pathetic. It's...
I'll be curious to see when it comes out. Just see people. I want to see like these weird reviews where it's like, as a game, is it any good? Like, I don't know.
It's not going
like,
to be
removed from the context, probably not.
That.
It looks like all you do is just run around, shoot dudes. I don't think you can die or anything. I think it's just run around, shoot dudes. That's the game.
I bet you. I wonder if you can die. I wonder if what they're going to do. I wonder if they're going to do something where. I am actually a little curious to see what comes out of this game, if it actually
just what is it?
Yeah, but like in the story mode, like, is there going to be like a copycat killer and you have to track them down, or like something?
No.
Like, I wonder like what kind of threat happens in this game to your
like,
character.
What could actually raise the stakes?
I really think it's going to be more like Postal, where it's just here is reason. Here's no reason to kill people. Here's just
and like I wouldn't be surprised if like after Hatred comes out, nobody even starts talking about it anymore. It's just
I saw one thing by a guy. I saw one thing about a writer I follow on Twitter who said a really interesting comment, which is Hatred, when it comes out, will be in the top 10 selling games on Steam and will be the most seeded torrent for months to come. And it's like, yeah, I bet a lot of people who support Hatred will not actually buy Hatred. They will just torrent the shit out of it. What was the other thing I was thinking about it? I bet it's gonna be like the video game version of that Uwe Boll movie, Mayhem or Rampage or whatever it's called.
Oh, you see, that's actually that's actually not a bad movie.
No, it's not a good movie. I saw when I used to Netflix binge in my basement. I put that up at one point because I just saw the cover and I was like, "This is actually bad."
I actually didn't hate that film. I thought it was okay. It felt like a poor man's Falling Down, but it.
I mean, the problem is that it didn't say anything about Rampage. It's just like, this kid is like messed up. He kills people. It's like, yeah, but what does that say about society or what we do to prevent this kind of thing?
Yeah, what is the point of this conversation?
Like, I watched a movie like a couple weeks ago that was about a bunch of kids who got picked on, and it was like a horror slasher film about them putting all these people in a room and then just brutally murdering these people that made fun of them in school. And it's like, in the end, they just all shoot themselves. It's like, yeah, but what does this say?
What's the point? Yeah.
It's like, it's shocking,
and that was my thing.
And at the very end, they try to pull it together with some kind of news report that's like, they never knew the true intentions behind why they did it. And it's like, I get that they're trying to say these invisible crimes that people commit in school with harassing others, but they didn't really go anywhere with it. And that's the problem I have with that, is that there's shock value and there's making a point. Hatred is just going to be shock value. If it actually makes a point about this, I would be fucking astonished. And I will resend my comment about them. If they actually make a solid point about the kind of people who would do this.
They'd be geniuses because they're hiding it right now with all their interviews.
They would have to. That'd be the biggest fucking 180 to pull, though, man. Considering what they look like right now. I'd be curious. I think we're done talking about Hatred.
Yeah.
I think
I hate talking about Hatred.
I think people are done hearing about it, and I hope that people didn't quit this podcast because of that, because I've certainly quit one before. Over just... Anyway, is that it for news?
There's another game we should be talking about.
Oh god, please let it be a good game.
Or
hilariously bad.
Talk about Fantasy World Dizzy right now, can't we?
No, I was gonna say Destiny.
Okay. Want to talk about Destiny?
What?
Just because we always talk about it.
Hey guys.
No.
Guys, can I tell you something?
I'll leave. Sorry.
Can I tell you guys something right now?
Sure.
I'm playing Destiny right now. I
bought that. Oh my god.
I paid money for Destiny.
How are you liking it?
This is our fate. This is the fate of this podcast.
I am actually really enjoying Destiny.
I think before we get to that,
I was gonna wait till later, but it's kind of hard to disguise it.
I want to hear Garrett's shenanigans first, because it's been a while since we've heard from him.
What, my 3 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, what have you been doing?
7 years you've been gone in cryostasis.
Let's let him talk about Destiny real quick, so I can, kind of organize and write down.
Okay, sure. So, Sam.
Okay,
why the fuck did you buy Destiny?
The same reason I bought Unity, which is I thought I would enjoy it, and if I didn't, I would at least have an academic perspective on it.
God.
Turns out I enjoy it. Go figure.
I love how people like me and Sam can call gaming academic with a straight face, but other people would think we're crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so you're joking when you say you enjoy it, right? You kind of mean that sarcastically.
Nope. It's a well-designed game.
Then fucking why?
Because the problem is, I haven't gotten to any of the content recycling yet, which is the big thing. But other than that, it's fucking Borderlands meets Halo, and it's beautiful. I feel like Brad when he was talking about Destiny on the Bombcast, which is it's the best, worst game I've played this year. Just because I want it to be so much more, The sad part is that, the story seems interesting, but I already know from review stuff that it won't go anywhere, which sucks, because I think there's something to it. And the same thing with, the guns and the classes, which is, it's a good shell, but I just know there's gonna be nothing in the end. But it's, it's a really good shooter. It feels great. I know, I was looking at Giant Bomb Game of the Year list. There's a guy named, oh god, Rami Ismail? He's developed a few games, and he did a list where he said Destiny was his favorite AAA game of the year because it just felt good to play. which is kind of thing. Like, it feels awesome. It feels like a good Halo game.
But I
haven't gotten to the content problems. That's the thing. Like, everyone's biggest issue with it seems to just be the content, like the lack of story content, the lack of guns, armor, and stuff. And I haven't reached that point yet.
Like how much time have you spent with it? Like,
I restarted my character, so I'm roughly 5 hours in. I'm about to finish up my last 2 missions on the moon before I go to Venus. So it's just it's very interesting, and I wouldn't say it's like perfect or anything. Like, the biggest problem I noticed that I didn't see people talking about much is that Peter Dinklage kind of sucks as a voice actor.
Yeah. You didn't hear people talking about that? Are you kidding?
I heard people talking about it came out, but I thought they said he was okay, and it's like, no, he's actually kind of terrible.
He's really fucking bad.
Part of it's definitely the script, but like, you know, because there are some really shitty lines. Like, one of them that made no sense to me is that he's a robot, right? And yet, there's one line when you go to the moon where he says, "I used to look up at the night sky and wonder what they were doing." It's like, why would it's a human thing. Robots don't look up at the night sky and wonder about existentialism.
Like, would not be surprised, because Peter Dinklage, like, I would not doubt his talent as an actor. He's very, very good in almost anything I've seen him in. But I'm pretty sure
acting are two very different things.
Yeah, I mean, there's that argument, but I just kind of feel like, because hearing a lot of the stuff of how the fucking story development fell apart at Bungie and Activision and all the shit they went through, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Peter Dinklage looked at this and was like, you know, this makes no fucking sense, but whatever, I'm here for a check. Like, I can't help but feel like maybe he didn't really give a shit to put too much effort into it.
Yeah, I think part is also that he seems to be trying not to, articulate his words, because he's trying to be more like a robot. So it's kind of like a poor man's cross between Cortana and Guilty Spark. Does it feel
like he's phoning it in?
Not really. It's like, you remember how Guilty Spark was in Halo 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, and I understand that he's trying to purposely be a flat delivery for a robot, but it's more the script that comes off weird, because it sounds like he's a human being when he talks to you.
Yeah, like, I mean, compare this to, like, GLaDOS. You know?
Yeah, like, he doesn't talk like someone who has a predefined dictionary. He talks like someone who understands the human language very well. Which, you know, you could just say it's the future and all that, but like I said, some of the lines where it sounds like he's getting weirdly existential confuse the fuck out of me.
Yeah, like, I am pretty certain, like, the script is just super fucked up because they didn't know what to do, and just...
Also, it has a real problem with using the. It's the light, the darkness, the fallen, the hive, the traveler, the guardians. Which is a real problem, because these things need names. Like, just the fallen is not a good name. And I'm not laughing out loud, but I'm really disappointed that when they say things like, this was a sword so dark that it could destroy the light. And it's like, give it a fucking name! Like, call it, like, you know, meiosis or something like that. It's like
the Light Slayer.
Just like, you know, give the sword a fucking, like, name that's kind of like, this is Ultos. It destroys meiosis, which is our element of light. Or something like that. I don't know. Like, make up shit. But it's so surface level, and then it's just the light, the darkness, we have to push
like, it's got a fucking encyclopedia, like...
You know what's kind of funny, though, is that the more I played it, the more I realized that Dark Souls did the same thing, but way better. Because Dark Souls is also just the light and the darkness. But in the... You know, to be fair, I'm early on in Destiny, but in Dark Souls, people like to point out the darkness is a physical thing. Like, the darkness took over a town in the Dark Souls DLC, and it literally turns people into creatures. Like, it's a real thing. It's tangible. In this one, it seems like the darkness is more a force of evil, kind of like, you know, stuff in, like, Lord of the Rings, where, like, the darkness is a manifestation of evil. It's bizarre. And I really want to like it, because I like a good, you know, somewhat schlocky sci-fi mixed with magic shit. But, like, I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, I'm the speaker for the Traveler. And I'm like, what's the Traveler? And he's like, I can't tell you that. And it's like, well, come on! Like, give me something here! And, like, at some point, it's like, so, what happened to the Traveler? And he's like, I could tell you about the grand battle of ages ago. And it's like, can you? And he doesn't. Yeah, it's like, so what happened?
No, Angry Joe did an actual thing on that. Like, he played the scene at normal speed, and then he played the snippet, and then he played it again, and then he played it in slow motion. it's like I could tell you great tales. Anyway, and he turns around.
To.
Yeah, I could tell you great tales of the light and the dark. Anyway, so it's fucking retarded.
I think that there's a shitload of potential in the story because Bungie. I don't think they're bad storytellers. I don't think Halo has the greatest story ever, but I feel like it did pretty well. But I feel like Destiny.
It had a lure.
I feel like the thing with Destiny though is that it's the problem is twofold. One is that it's Bungie far extending their reach past their grasp. Like, Halo was the story of one guy doing all this crazy shit, which was a bit weird in and of itself, that Master Chief is just the end-all, be-all harbinger of everything good.
Yeah.
But Destiny, I think that the secondary problem with the story is that being an MMO, you can't have the one. Well, you can. Some MMOs do it where it's like you're the one individual. This one, they try to pull it more as like there's a group of guardians who will ultimately help us.
Which makes a lot more sense.
Like, they make it sound like an army.
Which, many.
Yeah, it's like it sounds like an army that you're building, which sounds really good, but the problem is that you can't have any characters because of that. You can't... Your character does talk, and their cutscenes are actually really, really well directed, but, like, I can't have a character arc or anything like that because I'm just setting up for what will be Destiny 2 and 3.
Yeah, fucking... Oh my god.
I can definitely see why people say it's most disappointing game of the year, because I think it's actually a really good game, but it's disappointing as hell.
I was thinking of putting Destiny, but two things. I didn't want to talk about it again, and yet here we are. And
I mean, to be fair though, like, I'm playing Destiny, which, unless you've played it before, this is new for us. We've talked a lot about it, but none of us actually played it.
You are playing it.
So that's why I'm defending it, because I'm like, oh, there's actually some really good aspects of this game.
And that was another reason, is because I didn't play it enough. Like, I have a friend who has it, and I was playing it with him. And I went, yeah, I've made a character. I played a couple levels with him. I played the beta.
It's a really good shooter
when I had it.
on the basics.
And I also rented it in a Redbox. I haven't actually owned it. I haven't actually sat down and like binge played it. So I was like,
that's what I'm doing.
It's not. It wouldn't be fair for me to say this is the most disappointing game of the year. There's so many other games that I could have played.
And that's why I did name it mine, because I probably could have before I played it for the list, but, like...
Right.
It's... Like, I'll be curious to talk about it once I reach, like, the endgame stuff, because I feel like, Brad Shoemaker from Giant Bomb right now, where it's like, I want to love Destiny. I want it to be, like, one of the best shooters of the generation, and it's there somewhere, but it's like the Assassin's Creed problem, where it's just obfuscated. I was gonna say buried, but Assassin's Creed, the problem is that it's buried under a load of shit from Ubisoft. The problem with Destiny is that it's not enough of a full game. Like, if it had the amount of content to say, like, Borderlands 2 did, then I could easily say, like, best shooter of the year, hands down, fucking great game, especially if the story was more comprehensible. But it definitely feels like, I don't know, proof of concept, let's get this new engine going, and then Destiny 2 will be like the Titanfall 2, where it's like, alright, now we can finally get this thing rolling, and it's gonna be great. Like, I bet Destiny 2 will be pretty awesome. But that's Destiny 2, and you have to pay $60 for the first one. Although I paid $45. So all I'm going to say is it's actually not nearly as bad as I thought. I'm glad I'm playing it, but I will reserve most of my judgment until the later game where people say it's more interesting. Although I'm having fun now, but I haven't had to repeat stuff. Oh, and quick thing about the dialogue I remember is that there are actually some good parts where the voice acting and the dialogue comes through. Like, there's one point where you're tracking a sword through, like, a deep underground cavern on the moon. And at one point, Peter Dinklage, your ghost, I don't think you ever give him a name, it's just your ghost. He comes up to you and he was like, I don't mean to discourage you or anything, but I'm tracking the light of the sword by the Guardians it's killed. And it's like, it's not a badly delivered line. It's interesting. It's slightly world-building. Just the idea that, like, so many people went after this sword and they all fucking died. And it's like, well, hopefully you'll make it. Maybe. Like, there's some really interesting ideas in here. There's some really cool stuff. There's just not enough stuff overall. But I will reserve judgment for later. So yeah, Destiny. It's cool. Anyway, I think we should get to Garrett, and next week I'll have much more to say about it.
Actually, I forgot to ask. You're playing this on your Xbox One?
Yeah. Yeah, so I bought it last night, because what I did is I bought the trial, and that's why, because I normally probably wouldn't have bought this, until it got much cheaper. But I played the trial, and I was like, you know what, this is fun enough to consider it. And I got a friend of mine who's playing it, so I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, this is a guy I haven't talked to in forever. I'd love to play more games with him. And he's like, I got a level 29 Hunter and a level 21, which is like near the cap. What was it? Titan. So he's played a lot of Destiny.
Nice.
Yeah, plays good on the Xbox One. 60 frames. At some point, when I get to my turn, I would like to talk about the Xbox One in general, especially I want to compare the controller to the DualShock 4 with Brandon.
Alright.
But I think we should get on to Garrett, because I do want to hear about shit he's done.
Well, I've been sick for about a whole week.
Flu's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah, which sucks. I had the flu. I had to go to the hospital multiple times.
Jeez.
To get checked up on. The highest my temperature got was 102.9.
Oh my god!
And yeah, I got really sick. And my parents were like, is he gonna be all right? And the doctor was like, yeah, he'll be fine.
That's always confident. Yeah, he'll be fine.
And he was like, I was so out of it that I couldn't really say my name. They were asking me simple questions. I was like, oh, fuck it, no, I just want to go home, go to sleep, and die.
I got sick once, and that was back in high school.
Shit.
I've never gotten that deathly ill.
I had the swine flu back in high school, and I had like the worst case. I was sick for a while too.
I was in bed just laying there like, kill me. It sucked. So I ate a
Destiny.
I had a steady die. Would my reaction have been the same? Kill me?
I don't know. It depends on how much you want to hear about the darkness.
No.
But I was on a steady diet of popsicles and water, which wasn't as awesome because I couldn't get anything. I was really hungry, and the only thing they were like, "Here, have a popsicle." I was like, "That's not gonna fill me up." Have
it's
some
kind of
chicken
like when
soup.
they tell you like you can eat ice cream when you get your tonsils. It's like, yeah, but that gets real bad real fast.
Yeah. Oh, it's getting your tonsils taken. Yeah, you can eat ice cream when you have your tonsils out. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Your tonsils being out sucks, and
I haven't gotten mine out, but it's like I don't like ice cream enough to eat that more.
I've
than,
never
like,
gotten my
one
tonsils
bowl.
removed.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love ice cream, but my tonsils were the size of golf balls, according to my doctor. And
Shit!
How are you alive? You've defied every chance.
my doctor was like, they're the size of golf balls. They're big. We need to cut those things out before you suffocate. And so I was like,
Jesus.
okay. So they took them out, and yeah, apparently they didn't cauterize the inside quite enough, so it was still kind of open. So sometimes So I would be like, oh my god, what's wrong? I have to go throw up, and I would just be vomiting blood into the toilet, and it would be rushing out. I would be vomiting blood, and it got it got so bad that I told my stepfather. I said it felt like a sack was filling up in the back of my throat and blocking off my pipe, and I couldn't throw up anymore, but I had to. And I thought I was going to choke and die on it. And he said, oh, that's because it was all coming out so fast and so much of it. He's like, they must not have cauterized the wound very well for that to have been happening. Like, basically what he told me was I almost choked on it, which was nice to hear.
People who are like, when you tell people something is seriously wrong, and they're like, yeah, that's probably bad. And it's like, could you not take this a little more heavily? Not take this so lightly.
I was more pissed that we paid a doctor to do a good job, and he didn't.
I was throwing up blood, and I was a little bit pissed off with the doctor.
I was mad because the doctor didn't try to kill me.
You're the only person who would be like, I'm throwing up blood. I'm a little bit angry about that.
About throwing up blood, and I'm thinking, why didn't they like sew up my back of my throat better with fire? But anyway,
the phrase "throwing up blood" is very uneasy for me.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun, and I went around for like a week, and my throat hurt, and I'm just laying in bed. My dad's like, you need to get off your ass and go do something around the house. You've been in the bed for a week. I'm like, he's like, for the first few days I understand, but a week? So I'm out, and my throat is hurting, and I'm out there picking weeds out in the garden. It sucks.
Was this the flu or the tonsils?
Oh, this was the tonsils. Going back,
new sickness.
Going back to the flu. Yeah, it just sucked, because I got sick, and my little sister was sick first. And then I think I might have got my mom sick because she started having the flu. And then
that's
my
the worst part about it is by the time you realize you have it, you've probably fucked everyone in your vicinity.
my hypochondriac brother Dylan, who would be walking just like I would be in the kitchen, and he'd be just fine. He's whistling and stuff like that, and then he turns the corner and sees me in the kitchen. He goes and like goes into the corner. He's like, oh,
oh shit.
He's like, hi, Garrett. I'm like, hey, Dale, I'm just getting some water. He goes, are you feeling better? I'm like, no, I'm still feeling sick. He goes, oh, and he runs off up to his room. I'm like, fuck you.
Guys, I just watched an enemy disappear out of thin air. He just popped.
That's amazing.
Poof.
Like, he did a teleport thing, but he literally just, his model disappeared out of thin air. That was beautiful.
Dim
awesome.
next-gen graphics.
I wish I bought the Kinect version so I could say Xbox record that.
But yeah, so being sick sucked. Everyone in this whole house has been getting sick. I went and saw Frozen on Ice, which is also where I might have gotten sick, because there was a woman behind us coughing the entire time.
Garrett, just let
Damn
it
you, Frozen!
Just let it go.
Oh, okay. I thought you were actually telling me to let something go. I was like, what? Yes, that song exists, and they did that song, and it surprisingly didn't get as big an applause as I thought it would. It got the biggest applause out of any of the songs, but not the biggest one.
I admit that I've only heard like 20 seconds of that song. I've never heard the whole thing front to back.
I've yet to watch that movie from start to finish.
Brandon, didn't you watch it like yesterday?
Yes, a couple days ago, but
You mind
yeah.
if we sidetrack Garrett for a second, since you mentioned Frozen? Or first, tell us about Frozen on Ice.
Frozen on Ice was fun. There was only one accident on the ice.
Oh,
and
that's
no
good.
And I might have been the only person to see it during the.
I was the only one who bore witness to the accident.
It was awesome. It was
The action was awesome.
No,
it was sick, rad, yo.
There was it was a giant group of skaters, and in the towards the right, not quite on the outside, but towards the right of where I was sitting, there were it was a whole bunch of the whole thing was a bunch of people dancing in groups of two in a circle, and in one of those groups, one of the guys fell over.
Oh no.
And the other person had to help them back up, and it was this fight to get them back up, and because they were both slipping on the ice, and then they got them up and just continued their rotation like nothing happened, like no one saw that. I'm sitting there going,
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, though.
I got one question about Frozen on Ice.
Sure.
How did they do Olaf?
It was a dude in an Olaf suit.
Yeah, just what you want.
And when they're doing it at like when they take the head off and stuff, there was I guess the eyes were in the chest because there was nobody underneath the head.
So Olaf's what, 7 foot tall in this? Jesus.
Yeah, he's about as tall as a person.
Oh God.
It's like his teenage years. Growth spurt. Frozen on Ice, pseudo sequel to Frozen. So how's Frozen the movie, Brandon?
I liked it.
Okay.
I like it.
Oh,
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Chris?
Not from start to finish.
Didn't.
Okay. I've seen like one scene from it.
I know how it
seems
ends
like
and everything.
I'd probably like it. I'm sure. I just haven't bothered.
It's not bad. Oh, at Frozen on Ice, everyone was like, "Hey, you want?" There were those guys walking around, popcorn, get your popcorn, and shit like that. I'm like, "How much is a bag of popcorn?" The guy before he tells me the price, he gives it to me. So
he's like, "Now you have to buy it, fucker."
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
"That's great."
Yeah. I was like,
Asshole.
I was like, "Fuck, I have it in my hand. How much do I have to buy?" Or I'm like, "How much is it?" A bag of popcorn. He goes, $12.
I would literally say "fuck you" and throw it back.
And I turn around and Mom's buying popcorn for everybody. I was like, oh,
how big a bag are we talking?
it said jumbo on the front, but it was not that big.
Anything but, I'm sure. We're not talking like movie bucket. We're talking like the bags they send out at the movies, right?
Fucking movies don't even charge you that much for popcorn. Holy shit!
It's like $5 at the movies, which is still nuts, but it's kind of regular nuts. Like you're used to that. God, $12. That's really just taking advantage of where you are.
Yeah, it's
just like, well, you're watching this. You probably want food. Fuck you. Pay for this.
Yeah. I was
be
just
hungry.
I was thinking, I was like, I could have gotten chicken tenders and a beer, and
no shit.
I could have. It would have been cheaper, and I would have been much happier.
But yes, with money, but not that.
Like I could get a lot of chicken wings for $12. That's
yeah. So it was $12 for a bag of popcorn, and that sucked. But yeah, overall it was cool. We got that and a $5 slushie, and I was like, the $5 slushie I can kind of get.
Yeah.
It's still a lot, but
it's not like you can't, you know, sneak shit in like at a movie theater. Like what me and some friends of mine would still do is where we have a movie theater in our local mall, and there's also like a really cheap like dollar store there, and you get like a fucking big ass bottle of soda, like not necessarily a 2-liter, but like a 1.5 liter for like $1, and we would like sneak this shit in our coat sleeves, just go right in with it. It's
nice.
Like, fuck your soda prices.
Nick.
Me and my friends, me and my friends, we would go to the movies all the time in New York, and we got so popular that when we went to the mall or when we were walking on the street, we're just like, you know what, let's go into this movie. We would be so popular, they would just see us and go, hey, Garrett.
Oh, like
hey,
at the movies you
Ben.
mean?
Yeah, they were like, Garrett, Ben, hey, Gabe, how you guys doing? You guys want to go see a movie? All right, cool, yeah.
Considering the movie buff you are, I'm not too surprised.
And we would go in, buy our tickets, and I'd walk right in, and I'd realize, oh shit, I brought my luncheon with me. Ah, whatever. They didn't care. They would turn other people around, but me, I had a can of Arizona open, and I was drinking it while I was buying my ticket, and then I just walked in. I was like, thanks, and I went and saw my movie, and I drank Arizona. It was good. I went and saw Dread. It was fucking awesome.
Dread's a good
God,
movie.
that movie in 3D was so badass.
Do I want these blue boots or these blue boots?
It was way better than Judge Dredd.
I'm looking at boots.
Fucking.
No,
The boots are full of the darkness. I gotta get the light in the boots.
I don't care.
I gotta put my ghost in the boots.
There's a Flash animation I have to send to you, Sam.
Oh god. That's always a good way to start.
We're guardians. It's our destiny.
Brandon was the one that showed me a video of Destiny, wasn't it? Where it was like, oh god, was it the cracked video, Brandon?
Yeah.
He was playing Destiny, and it was like, the best line from that is, you're scheduling your games now, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's Destiny in a nutshell.
Yeah, but you know, the guys I play with have school tomorrow, so I can't play with them tomorrow.
he's like, so I can't play with them tomorrow, so I have to.
God.
I saw that. That was the Gladstone.
There's a lot to hate about Destiny, but yeah, some other time.
So I can't go to the what was it? It was like the baby shower or a party or something, and he's like, I can't go.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what it was. I thought it was a wedding or something.
It was just a party.
Oh, it's just a party. Yeah, because he's like, you gotta go look.
Like, you gotta be
by comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta be my
by comparison. I can't do that without you.
How will they know how much better I am?
And fuck that game.
You haven't played it though.
I don't need to.
Yeah,
there's a Flash.
Come on, Chris. To get leveled for the raid, get attuned with me.
There's a Flash.
Let's fucking do this raid.
I don't own an X-Bone, man. I don't
buy you one just to play Destiny.
Oh, shut up.
So you can watch these enemies disappear before my very eyes.
You know what? I would honestly feel bad if you did that, because you bought me something Destiny. That like you bought me an X-Bone, but all I'm gonna do is play Killer Instinct on it, and then you're gonna be asking me
like, I fucking downloaded Killer Instinct. I haven't played it yet.
Oh man,
Season 2's out, man.
So Garrett, like, anything else going on? Maybe just.
I'm trying to download Windows 7 right now, and it won't let me.
On your Windows 8 machine.
Which is fucking pissing me off. No, I got for Christmas I got a 2 terabyte internal hard drive for my laptop.
Was it the kind that fits in there?
Yeah, it's a CD.
Okay, so it's a laptop drive. Okay.
Yeah. It says on the front laptop, and I was like, okay, cool, this is it.
Laptop, generic. All right, well, you know.
And yeah, we live in Repo, man.
Genetic opera.
I'm glad you thought of that, but no, I was thinking of Repo Man, the 1980s cult classic.
Well, there's that, and there's also the remake. That's like in the later thousands.
Oh,
that's the only one I've seen.
That was Repo Man. That movie sucked.
Oh right, it's pretty bad.
Repo the Genetic Opera was awesome.
Yeah.
But no, Repo Man was a 1980s film, and every a little in joke is every single item in that movie is generically named. Like someone's drinking a beer, and it's a white label and in small black letters. It just says beer. Or he's eating like a can of tuna, and it's like a white, like the whole label is white, except for in black letters it says food.
It's like government shit. That's like
yeah.
It's a government ration off-brand food.
Yeah, so it's awesome. And then you have, but yeah, so I'm trying right now on Firefox to download Windows 7, and for
downloading an OS through your web browser. We live in the future.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Windows Internet Explorer is the best program to use to download Firefox.
Or Google Chrome, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's not working though. It'll go all the way to the end, and then it'll say you have a minute left, and then it'll just error out.
Where are you downloading this from?
Which is pissing me off. Skype. One of my friends says he has a code, and he's like, just download it from here, and then I'll give you the code, and it's not working.
Oh, that sounds great.
So I might have to go out and actually buy it, which sucks. So
yeah, people tend to buy things today.
Well, no, I don't want to buy.
I bought my copy of Windows. Thank you very much.
I shouldn't have to buy it because I've been forced with Windows 8 3 times. I don't want to do it again. I want Windows 7.
I love my Windows 8 machine.
I have Windows 8 right now.
It's okay, Ash. You have the right to be wrong.
In order to upgrade my memory, I have to rebuy Windows? Fuck that. I don't want to, but I haven't bought anything on the Steam sales yet.
It's been a pretty shitty Steam sale.
It has been a really shitty Steam sale.
And I remember posting on Twitter, like, is it just me because I own fucking 800 games, or is it bad? And people are like, no, it's pretty shitty sale. Like, it's not even that there were, not that many great games in 2014, but none of them are going on sale. Like, it's just a whole bunch of just, like, games I've never heard of, or games that were super cheap to begin with, or just not great games. And it's like, I don't know. Like, Walking Dead Season 2, I got that for, like, $7? Something like that. Which is pretty great. Not as good as Wolf Among Us. I don't know. Any of you guys picked up anything from the Steam sale that you're happy with?
So, I finally took the opportunity to, unless Garrett has anything he wants to add, I thought we could segue into what I did, but
really quick, I'm almost done. I passed all my classes with A's, so I have a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And for Christmas, I got
free copy of Destiny.
No, I got money.
No.
A 32-inch TV, HD TV. I got Reservoir Dogs special 10 case edition, and I got an office chair, which I'm sitting in now. Okay, now I'm done. Go on.
Yeah, I bought a 32-inch
that sounds pretty
TV
cool.
for my desk a few months ago. Best decision I ever made.
Yeah, Steam sale, the only things I did was I bought The Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead Season 2. I played the first episode, which I'm not going to get too much into because of spoiler territory stuff. I feel like
we can talk about episode 1. Because I played the first 2, and Brandon's played the first one, so I'd almost like to discuss it.
I played the whole season.
Yeah. If anything, I'd almost like to just discuss characters and environments and differences between season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because it's disappointing for me. I'm on the end of episode 2. I don't find any of the new characters memorable.
Like,
except maybe
they aren't. Like, not really.
Like, it's like they just show up, basically, and then one of them, like, right off the bat is an asshole bitch character or whatever for the sake of, well, everybody else has been pretty nice to you, but there's always that one time.
There's that Kenny!
And then I kind of feel like, because there is a moment near the end of episode 1 where you got to choose between who you're gonna save, this one or the other one, and I'm like, that kind of feels cliche at this point. Like,
does it say
like we've been there, done that already.
Yeah, because back in season 1, that first episode, you had that twice, and
yeah,
I kind of get what they're going for. Like, that shit happens,
but it's a very shallow way to say life is full of hard decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very shallow binary choice, and it doesn't really it's not great.
I mean, yeah, and granted, you know, the problem that season 2 has is that everybody kind of knows what tricks that.
Yeah, we've already been through the Telltale tricks, and we're used to them by now.
So we're kind of already aware of the fact that, like, no matter what we decide, shit's going to play out a certain way. But again, the reason those choices matter is what other people think of you, not really so much of what outcome you affect. So
yeah, it doesn't really change the overall story because that'd be insane. It just changes slight demeanors and stuff.
I guess I could say it's kind of sad, the fact that probably the most interesting thing was the teaser trailer for what happens in the next episode. So
wow.
Yeah.
And I played the next episode, and
that, and I kind of felt a little. I thought it was kind of stupid how, like, in the very beginning of it, how Clementine, like, purposely leaves her gun out. I was fully aware of that.
I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Which part are we talking about?
The first episode in season 2.
At the very beginning, you know, in the bathroom.
Oh yeah. As soon as that happened, I was like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah. Like I
went back like, "Oh wait, you brought your gun. Let me get it for you." Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I can't do it. No, because the story totally said no. I got to leave it out.
And
so
the worst part is that when that stuff happens, and then a certain story action happens, it's like, "Well, this could have been prevented if you grabbed your gun." It's like, well, it sucks because
I tried to.
Yeah, it sucks because it's a very anti-video game thing. Where as a video game player, you want to say, I should have agency over my own actions and be able to prevent this from happening. But they're like, I don't. But that's the Telltale problem.
Like
is that they're mostly movies, so ultimately a certain thing has to play out for the plot.
Yeah,
and it's like I wish I could prevented that because it's like when a character dies in a cutscene in the game. It's like I could prevent that. I'm good enough at shooting people to stop this person.
Or it's like when you beat a character in a supposed to lose boss fight, they make you fight him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the ones where, like, you beat them and you ultimately lose anyway. Because that's how the story plays out. And it's like, well, then just make him impossible to beat. Or just play a cutscene.
Or just don't have the boss fight.
Yeah, just play a cutscene that's like, oh, you got your shit wrecked. Yeah, that's the real Telltale problem, though, is that they have to tell their story. And if you try, it'll hamper your experience because you'll try to break that, and the game will say, no, you can't do that.
400 Days, I wanted to do something like that, like when that came out, and
what was it?
That part where you're playing as that one, chick, like out in the cornfield, and then
Bonnie. You're playing Bonnie. Yes.
Yeah.
I just played this like a week ago. So
then you fucking clock that one lady with the lead pipe.
I did it. Attack her, and you get a game over.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is bullshit.
Yep.
God, I hated that.
Goes right back to that.
God.
So.
I feel like Wolf Among Us did slightly better with this than Walking Dead has.
It did.
Oh, man,
also, I
actually did have consequences what your actions were.
Also, prior to playing Season 2 and 400 Days, I watched Two Best Friends play Season 1 just to remind myself. And even the first season has a lot of moments like that. Where it's just like, you have no agency over this particular action. It's like, maybe that game isn't the greatest thing we thought it was at the time. Like, it's novel, but I'm starting to see the problems with their engine.
Yeah.
That was when we still didn't quite know what the Telltale formula was, but now we're really familiar with it, so they really can't surprise us with this kind of shit anymore. We see through it.
Yeah, it's like I'm starting to see the mechanics inherent to the engine. It's like there are some really glaring flaws with the way they design their games.
I'm still gonna play the whole fucking season, you know.
I mean, it's still great storytelling. It's just it's not much of a game when it comes down to it.
No, it's.
And I don't mean I don't mean the game, not a game argument, because it is a video game on a very empirical level. But it's just like, I wish there was more gamey stuff of like, I wish you could completely change the outcome of the story.
Yeah.
But that'd require way more budget.
Once you accept that they're just movies and you're just a viewer, it becomes a lot easier to swallow that.
And it's still worth checking out for that. Like, they're still great characters. I mentioned in my tweet that I thought Clementine, I kind of like the dark sense of humor she got. Like, when she's, I guess slight spoiler, like halfway through the first episode, after you get bit by the dog and you're facing up your wound, and then she's just sitting there, she's like, this is gonna be fun. And then, like, you know, when you pick it up, she's just, like, making these constant dark humor jokes at herself about how fucked up and painful this is.
Yep.
And it's like, only a zombie apocalypse could give a 9-year-old girl a really sick sense of humor like that.
Yeah, that's... So, aside from that, though, I also just finished a package of Winter Oreo cookies that I bought a couple days ago.
What kind are they? Are they just like white Oreos?
No, they're basically, they taste the same, but they have red cream on them.
Ooh, yeah.
And the cookies have like penguins and shit on them. I bought this a couple. I bought this a couple days ago, thinking it was gonna last longer, and it did.
It never does, man.
I finished the last one. I guess, I mean, there's not as many cookies in there as you think.
There never is. It's always like you get through one row and you're like, really? Like, shit.
I mean, I'm still probably gonna feel like a piece of shit because I ate the whole package and nobody else.
Nope. Just
I do that all the time.
Let it sink in. Just let it happen. Have you guys tried the peppermint Oreos? Because those things are the shit.
Oh man, I love those. And I was hoping for those, but I was like, fuck it, it's Oreos. So.
Oh, you couldn't find them?
They had them in the store, but like I picked up these ones. It's like, Christmas only comes once a year, and like they only have these only whenever. So I just said,
Are they
fuck
peppermint
it.
year round? I thought they were also seasonal. I guess they're probably not.
I don't know. I don't know, but
probably not, because they still have peanut butter Oreos and stuff like that.
At least I can say that I did not eat this whole thing in like one day. This probably took me like at least 3 days to eat all these. So
I mean, once you get to the point where you're eating all of it in one sitting, that might be a problem.
Oh god, yeah,
I ate the whole box.
That is where, like, if you eat an entire package of Oreos in one sitting, like you've just turned into this monster. You just pull out your fingers have turned into this black claw of dust. Like, oh god, what have I become? Like,
what am I? I'm some kind of monster.
Cheetos kind of does the same thing.
Yep,
like,
you look like a monster afterwards.
Yeah, you pull this orange claw out of the bag, and it's like, oh god.
Yep.
I like that now too.
Yep. That's exactly where I got that from, Garrett. You are absolutely right.
I was actually watching Patton Oswalt while I was sick because I was like, he'll make me feel better. He did. It worked. I sent him a tweet. Hopefully he'll get back to me. I was like, Patton Oswalt, thank you for making my flu that much less miserable.
Aww. So, some stuff that I had finally played that I hadn't talked about before. Let me just go over my haul of stuff I got for Christmas, because I didn't get to play all of this stuff yet.
Let's do it. I'll tell you how wrong your decisions were.
So I got Dragon Age Inquisition. Played some of that. I got Wolfenstein: The New Order. I installed it, and then apparently after going through 4 DVDs, I still have 10 more gigs to download, which is why I haven't touched it.
You know the best part? It's a single-player only game.
Fuck! Like, and then I also got Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag for my PC.
Nice.
It's a good game.
Got that installed, and then also downloaded these 6 gigs of patch that was needed for it, because Uplay, and then got the Ratchet and Clank collection, which is actually what I've spent the most time with. The good old Ratchet and Clank HD collection, and I'll get back to that in a minute. Also, I got a $10 Nintendo eShop card, and I downloaded Mega Man X3 for my Wii U, so that's cool.
What is this?
And then, something I managed to grab because some relatives of mine gave me a gift card for GameStop was I went and grabbed Guilty Gear Xrd.
Xrd. I keep wanting to call it Zerd, because I feel like that sounds better than Xrd. Guilty Gear Zerd sign.
Yeah, like Xrd. Some people say Xrd.
Yeah, fuck them. They're wrong.
Yeah. But,
I'm the only one that's right in this.
Yeah. I'm really only... Because I haven't spent as much time with Inquisition to really give any opinions on it, but the only things I really want to touch on was... So, Ratchet and Clank.
It's a game.
The whole... I'm playing... So, you know, I'm doing the right thing of playing through them in order, you know, despite the fact that I played all of these originally, but... You know, it takes me back. Like, I remember getting those games on Christmas, like every other year, and then... The other kind of sad thing was playing the original Ratchet and Clank. I'm just kind of sitting there going, man, Going Commando is great. I can't wait to play that one.
That's the real problem with those. You get to that point where you're like, man, the sequels were way better than the ones before.
Yeah, the original game when you play compared to Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal, it's just not that great.
Yeah. I mean, granted, even Up Your Arsenal, like, it can be argued that one just feels like it's just an extension of Going Commando, but still, those were awesome. And Going Commando was so fucking good. And granted, the original Ratchet and Clank game, it's not bad, not by any means, but like, compared to Going Commando, that's like I miss.
A lot, if I remember correctly, it's just very much a conceptual game of Insomniac going, we can make some weird weapons and we have places to explore. And Going Commando's like, let's put this, down pat. Let's get this like really tight.
Like it was really good with what they did. I mean, and also, I mean, the funny thing about that was Insomniac. That was back in the day when like those guys and Naughty Dog were tight. And when Naughty Dog, came up with this engine and everything, and Insomniac was like, "Oh, hey, do you mind helping us out with this?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And
the days, people would just share engines.
Yeah, that was basically it. And like, the original Ratchet and Clank is still a good game, although. Of course, the other thing that turns me off about it is Ratchet and Clank as characters in that first game. Like
Ratchet in particular is probably more annoying than Clank was.
Yeah, because like I get what they were trying to go for with like the whole idea of like they're this comedy duo that's always bickering, but it never comes off as funny. Like as like the more it goes, it almost just seems bitter. And it's like, dude, Clank made
I don't know if you watched the with the two Ratchet and Clank designers going through Going Commando in a Let's Play.
I have that playlist saved, and I've watched a few episodes of it.
One of the things they talked about really early on in that is that when they decided to design the second game, Going Commando, they were very conscious about how much people could not stand the original Ratchet because of how much of a dick he was in that game. So like, every time, they really did like change a lot in that game just to make sure he wasn't a dick.
Yeah, because and rightfully so, because it's like Clank really only fucks up once.
Exactly.
And he gives him shit about it the whole time, and I'm like, come off it, man. Like, you want to go on vacation as opposed to save the world. Like, fuck you.
And they were like, that's okay for him to be a jerk as long as he's being a jerk to protect Clank or to protect somebody. That's the only time it's okay. Otherwise, we learned our lesson the first time. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. And, I mean, and there are a few times when you kind of feel like maybe he's gotten over it, but no, he still continues to give him shit. And it's... Oh, man. Like, it's... Yeah, and like I said... Yeah, like I had said, it's like maybe they were trying to play this up for laughs as like a comedy duo bickering like a married couple, but it never comes off as funny. It's just really bitter and mean-spirited, and it's like, yeah, like, Ratchet, eat a dick. Just...
I think the problem also is that when you want to do like the bickering style comedy, you generally have to know the characters as people who already like each other.
And they just established these characters.
Yeah, you can't just start out like that. Like, that has to be like
it made more sense.
You're like, oh, like they've been together for like 5 years. Of course they would bicker and argue.
It made more sense in the first Future game.
Makes more sense there.
Also, the other thing that I find is funny, and this is kind of like not just Ratchet and Clank in particular, but when it comes to like HD re-releases of games, I can't help but think back on the disaster that was the Silent Hill HD collection. And like all of the stupid bullshit that went on, like not from a technical level, but when it came to like what had to go on for just voice acting, like the fact that they couldn't get these actors because of contract deals and blah blah blah, and they couldn't use this because rights expired, blah, and it's like I never hear any other HD set or anything having that much trouble, and and I'm pretty sure a lot of it was the fact that Konami was just incompetent, but Metal Gear Solid HD Collection turned out just fine, and so did Zone.
To be fair, they had some shit thrown at them with that, contract deal and the voice actors, because that's a big part of Silent Hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. Did everyone else seem to figure it out through one way or another? I know that question is though: did they suffer through troubles and just never talked about it? Like, I'd be curious if they had some problems with some, like, the voice actor for Campbell in Metal Gear or something, and they just worked it out.
Yeah, like, you do have to wonder if, like, maybe Silent Hill was the one case where people decided to step forward and say no, but...
Maybe they just didn't pay him enough when they asked for, like, rewrites on the contracts? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because it seems like, with all of the other HD collections, like God of War, I mean, and especially because of the fact, like, God of War stuff was fairly recent within the time that they were still releasing new games, whereas, like, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, those things came along well after those franchises, were kind of almost considered done, although I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, especially because you've had at least 2, if not 3 different voices for Ratchet. I want to say there are only 2.
Only 2, yeah. The first one was some other guy, but then James Arnold Taylor took over from 2 onward.
Yeah.
And he's really good.
Yeah.
He also played Titus. Just you want to figure out what other things he's done with his time.
Insert Final Fantasy X laughing joke clip right here, Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Kill yourself now.
Great, just post editing, just throw that in there. You're like, thank you. I should play Final Fantasy X.
As well as a guy who plays Clank, who I love. And
yes, he grew on me because I used to hate him when I was a kid, but it grew on me after the years.
You know that same guy plays Nathan Hale in Resistance 2?
That guy's got some range. Fucking
yeah,
he's a new normal.
Absolutely. I still, something that I thought was kind of odd was when, and it happens near the beginning of the game when like you're listening to Clank talk, and you hear him take a breath, and and it's like I know for a fact that's because like that's basically just the voice actor taking a breath on audio that's still captured, but the fact that slipped, like. I'm like, wait a second.
So with the audio editing, you'd be like, look, we gotta fix this shit.
Yeah, it's like, why did the robot
breathe? Oh, really?
Yeah, like, why does he take a breath? Why does he do that? Like, I just thought that was hilarious.
That is admittedly
as well as, the fact that now we're seeing this game in, like, HD and, like, seeing shit that obviously we weren't supposed to see because these games were not meant to be in widescreen originally.
Yep.
Like, and again, I've only played the original Ratchet and Clank, but there's this one glitch that, again, you would not see this if you were playing in a standard set. But
yeah,
now you're in widescreen. Anytime, like, if you use the suck cannon, which is a gun that like sucks up small enemies and you shoot them back out, and you have this little meter that pops in from like the right side of the HUD, and that's the same thing that you also see if you go underwater, and that turns into your air gauge.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you put the suck cannon away, or if you come back up from underwater, that thing just moves far off to the side.
Yeah.
But it's not far off enough because I can still see it because now it's in widescreen.
It's the best thing ever.
Oh, that's hilarious! Like the way they programmed that is just to move it off screen out of a certain resolution boundary.
And also,
well, now that it's in 1080p, our resolution's way bigger than it was before.
Yeah, and also you start to see stuff like the character models don't look as smooth as we originally thought they did. Because
the re-release stuff made me realize that like those games don't look amazing.
There are a lot of technical tricks they use to make it look good on those consoles.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And also just like as a kid with nostalgia, you remember those games looking incredible, and it's like no, they looked average.
Yeah. Like, to their credit, the animation for PlayStation 2 was still really good. They
still look phenomenal. Like in my opinion,
they still have great art. It's just technically speaking, like when I envisioned Ratchet and Clank as a kid, it probably looked like what Future looks like now.
Yeah.
It's like I imagine it being like a Pixar game, and it's like no, it was kind of like muddy and really low res.
I mean, I could still think of like some stuff that obviously they couldn't do on PS2 that they could now do on PS3,
like
which simply like just the kind of fuzzy texture that comes off of him, like when you look at his ears and stuff. Like obviously, like you can't do that on PS2. It's just a flat texture.
We go to
hey, Shadow of the Colossus, man. They found out a way, and it's called Kill the Frame Rate.
If we go to HD remixes in general, like you see in all the older Final Fantasy and in the Kingdom Hearts remixes, how in the old PS2 eras they would always have for like the animated stuff, the stuff that you weren't playing it with, the in-engine cutscenes.
Yeah.
They'd have a high-resolution face that would be able to do those kinds of movements. But when you're actually playing in certain cutscenes, you'd see the low-resolution face, and it's jarring in high definition.
Yep.
It's real. Like, in the PS2 era, that was fine, but in HD, it is so jarring.
Yeah, I know with I can't remember if it was Uncharted 1 or 2 was where they did that with Nathan Drake. I think it was 2 until 3, where they had a different character model for the cutscenes. And then by 3, they're like, it's the same model for both of them. And it's like, I didn't really notice, but I wonder, just people disappearing out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, because in those days you could get away with that animating the face because you would rarely ever actually use it in the gameplay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Some of the other stuff that I'd gotten was, I got Gears of War Judgment. Haven't really spent any time with it.
Be also really curious to see if you like it. Because I really like Gears. I'm a big fanboy of Gears back when...
Yeah,
then 3 came out, and I was like, well, I'm done. Gears was great, and then they made another, and I was like...
Well, I played the trilogy, but Judgment was not something that I was super eager to get onto that because I was like, I finished the story. I don't really have too much.
Yeah, see, that's the problem I had. Is that like it felt done. It felt conclusive by the end of 3.
The thing is, like, Gears of War Judgment is like one game in a trilogy of games that, and I don't mean the trilogy of Gears of War. I mean the trilogy of games where people just didn't give a shit anymore. Of like Gears of War Judgment, God of War Ascension, and Halo 4. Because those were all things that like, who cares?
It was like these series that now overstayed their welcome.
Sorry, go on.
It's like these series have gone from these are really cool to you've overstayed your welcome, now get the fuck out.
But the bigger problem, and the 3 you chose are great for this, is that those are also all games with extremely conclusive endings.
Yeah.
Like, the end of God of War 3 is fucking done. There is nothing more you can do with that.
So they had to go back
Gears,
to the
you
past.
can argue it, but Gears, like, Marcus felt complete as a character. Like, you know, I mean, I could spoil the end of Gears, just a tiny thing. He just takes his bandana off, and he just sits there on the shoreline as the world is fucking wrecked, and he's like, Yep, that's life. And I'm like, great, fucking life goes on. It's like the post-apocalypse story. It's like, life goes on, fuck it. And then, what was the third one you mentioned?
Halo 4.
Yeah, and then Halo 3 was finish the fight. And then it's like, well, we found a new fight. A new fight. I would laugh if Halo 6 is like, finish the fight again, and it's like,
finish the new fight.
Seriously finish the fight.
The thing is, also, like, I don't know for Judgment, but all those games seem to be good games. They're just games that have no reason to exist.
Yeah.
From, like, a story, overall game, trilogy perspective.
Whereas the reason they do exist is because those franchises were worth a lot of money.
God, I wish they quit God of War 3, because that was a really good
There's another God of War game they're making right now.
I know. I wish they'd stop. Just take the fucking combat and make a new IP.
Like, is David Jaffe even working on that? Like,
no, David Jaffe only made the first God of War game. He didn't make anyone after that.
I don't.
The guy
he left after the original God of War and then never looked back.
And then they had the guy who made the second one that people like better, and then he left, and they had a new guy for the third one.
The last thing I want to touch on, and this was not something I got for Christmas, but oh god.
Oh, that's always a good sign.
So I played like a couple hours of Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah! The best Assassin's Creed game!
Now,
me and Brandon's favorite Assassin's Creed game.
To kind of give to preface this, I've played every Assassin's Creed game before this, with the exception of whatever portable games, because who gives a fuck? True. And I got Assassin's Creed 3 like super cheap at a bargain bin. I figured maybe it's time I finally try this for myself.
Because you've been talking about it on prior podcasts, so you kept saying you're going to play it. Me and Brandon kept saying, please don't. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't play it.
Well, to be fair, you're in the Hatham parts, which are actually not the bad parts of the game.
I just
he got past
those.
Yeah, he was talking about
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he was talking about Kid Connor, and I was like, oh yeah, the best Connor.
Shit. This game, like, in the first sections of this game, like you guys had already mentioned, that is the most longest and drawn-out fucking introduction ever.
And I get what they were trying to do, but it could have been done in, like, half the time.
Like, oh my god. Also, the whole thing of, like, you know, because spoiler alert, the whole thing of, like, you're playing as this character Hatham, and then it turns out he was totally a Templar. And, like,
what?
You have to understand, at the time, that was a huge twist.
Yeah,
nobody knew.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, but the thing that I thought was bullshit was the fucking Xbox 360 achievement system.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Comes up and says, "How'd you like them apples?" I was like, "Fuck you."
I heard people tweeting about that when the game came out. They were like, "This is Xbox achievements ruining a fucking game experience."
Yeah, that was so dumb. Like, why was that?
Just way to gamify that moment, Ubisoft.
But no, like the mission
unlocked.
Achievement unlocks. It's a twist.
The mission design in that game, holy shit. I had to restart checkpoints in that game more than any other Assassin's Creed game ever.
Yes.
Like, just simple shit. Like, getting decent, like, this goes back to fucking original Tom Clancy Splinter Cell levels of fucking trial and error of how to do a mission right. It was so dumb. Like,
oh, you don't even know the half of it, man. You don't even know the fucking half
until
of it.
the late game.
Damn it.
I don't even want to fucking... Oh,
let's just talk about Assassin's Creed 3 all day.
I'm just... all I'm going to say is that the mission design was bullshit. And
wait till you get to Sequence 8. That pisses the fuck off so much.
Also, fucking, Connor is like the ultimate Mary Sue, and it's like Connor was a part of every single thing that ever happened in the Revolution.
Pretty much.
When the Declaration got signed, he was there.
No. This is my favorite one. It wasn't Paul Revere. It was Connor. Paul Revere was on his backside.
Yep.
It's just ridiculous.
So dumb.
To
those of you listening, that's not a joke, by the way. That's literally in the game.
You do the midnight run.
So that's pretty much been my time. So.
You do everything in that game.
All we got left is Brandon.
I can't wait till Chris gets to the end and he's gonna have the same reaction to me, which is like I felt broken by the end of that. Like I was just crying watching the final cutscene and going like, I can't believe it's over.
Like I made the mistake of purchasing the Evil King.
The Tyranny of King Washington.
Like, I bought that shit too. So.
I mean, I've heard that's better.
I've never played that. I actually kind of want you to tell me.
Neither did I. I've heard it's decent.
The Tyranny of King Washington.
Yep.
I've heard it's decent because it's just nuts.
But George Washington was a good guy, so what the fuck?
No,
he's a Templar.
He's a king. Because everyone's a Templar or assassin.
He's a Templar.
No civilians.
Stupid. Just, I will be glad to share that stupidity after I get to that point. But
getting back to Persona Q.
Can't wait for the weekly updates on how bad Assassin's Creed 3 is.
What? So, Brandon, what fucking Atlas game did you play this week?
I've been playing more Persona Q. I'm trying to get to the end. I'm actually getting kind of tired of Persona Q right now.
Yeah, you were telling me that on Twitter because it was either that or our chat, I think. Yeah, for the last
it was on Twitter.
Swearing on you.
Yeah, where I was just like, "Hey, this I still want to get it," and you're like, "Dude, it fucking goes."
Like it's a fun game, but it overstays its welcome.
Which is the problem that me and Brandon have expressed many times on the podcast. We both have a huge problem with games taking way too long to be done.
And the problem isn't even the combat. Like, the combat itself is fine. The problem is that the dungeons are littered with so many puzzles that take hours to solve. Literally hours. There'll be one floor that's like the entire floor is a puzzle, and you need to first go to all the rooms in the floor to figure out where everything is, and then you gotta, since the game doesn't have an auto map, you have to draw that map by yourself. And then you got to figure out the puzzle after looking at the map for like 10 minutes, figuring like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go. It's really tedious. And I'm finally in the final dungeon. I'm really hoping that this last dungeon goes by faster than the other 4 did.
If you're in the last dungeon, that's probably not going to be the case. I'm sorry.
Because I'm getting...
Have you played a Shin Megami Tensei game before?
Shut up!
Because I can go back to the older podcasts where you said, oh yeah, this game's almost done. Final dungeon, 12 hours.
Yeah.
You're going to be there for like another 20 hours.
Yeah, man. It's like, this game is really starting to overstay its welcome.
That's a shame, because I have a real problem with super long RPGs. Like, that's the reason I don't play a lot of them, because they take forever.
It's like, I don't have the problem with Persona 3 or 4. Like, they're long RPGs, but they don't feel like they're paced well enough that it doesn't feel like a grind.
I never realized I played like 60 hours of Persona 3 until I looked at the timer.
Yeah. I finished the game, I clocked in 70 hours when I finished.
Yeah.
And I was fine with that.
Oh, but dungeons sound great.
Yeah. It's a chore.
So what else?
Aside from that, I played and beat both Wolfenstein: The New Order and Far Cry 3.
Pretty much the exact same game when you come down to it. It's exactly what you said in your article.
Well, they're trying to make the same message, and they play very similarly, but Wolfenstein has a good story, and it makes that point, and Far Cry 3 does not. Again, I just posted it like probably an hour before the cast.
Yeah, hence I have not read it because I was setting up and eating.
Where both games, they're basically trying to do this commentary on game protagonists and how they should probably realistically change a lot during these kinds of conflicts that they go through. Like in Call of Duty, your hero probably shouldn't be the exact same fucking blankless soldier dude that he was in the beginning of the game.
So I haven't read it, but is it basically my argument when I said Wolfenstein, which is the idea that like...
I took a lot of your argument when I made that article.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, because that's what the main argument for like Wolfenstein being so good is, which is just that the character understands the consequences of killing so many people.
Whereas when you contrast that with Jason Dillweed.
Oh man, it's funny you talking about that reminded me that Jason doesn't change at all. They play it completely straight, where it's he just becomes this action hero, even though the first guy he killed, he's freaked him out.
The very last scene in the entire game when he's interrogating his baby brother. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he's torturing his brother.
Oh yeah, maybe this is not a great thing. Only then, after 75% of the game is done, does he realize, oh, maybe I'm an asshole.
Yeah, whereas Wolfenstein...
What have I become?
Wolfenstein, kept bringing that up constantly. Very much the... Well, I was going to say it's also Spec Ops. Spec Ops, it was the very end, a twist. But with Wolfenstein, it's constant throughout. He's constantly talking about, all the killing never stops.
He's just maybe... BJ just sits there and he's like, maybe I'm only good at killing Nazis. Maybe that's literally the only thing I can...
he has, a great moment where he's just I think I'm a terrible human being, but I'm really good at killing people. And that's all I'll ever be good at. And it's that's probably what some soldiers think sometimes. That's really sad.
It's fucking horrifying.
And it's so weird, because it's a fucking Wolfenstein game, where you're killing Nazis.
If we want to go to Wolfenstein real quick, did anyone else find the whole secret conspiracy of Jews really uncomfortable?
A little bit.
I haven't, like I said, I haven't got a chance to play it yet because I have to download 10 fucking
games. The premise is that the reason the Germans got their advanced technology is that they stole it from a secret conspiracy of machinist Jews.
Okay,
yeah,
wow.
It's there's a Jews Illuminati sort of thing going on, where it's they have some insane technology far beyond anything we have today.
That's weird. And the fact that the Nazis stole it is why they rule the world right now, in Wolfenstein's world.
But it's not it's just a bunch of scientists. It's specifically the Jews, which is what's weird.
And I felt, I don't know, and it might be compounded by the concentration camp part of it, but I felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah, concentration camp wasn't great.
It's that. In a way, if that was theoretically true, that would kind of make Hitler right. And I don't like you, and I don't like that.
I love hearing that phrase because it always sounds bad.
I don't.
That does make me uncomfortable in so many ways.
It's almost like they had a contrivance for well, we got to find out some game reason for why the Nazis killed the Jews beyond the actual historical reason. So they just had to mix something up almost.
I know.
I don't think the story. I could almost say you could just get rid of it and just say the Nazis just happened to have all the scientists in the world and they just happened to know all this technology.
Yeah. And that would even be better, honestly.
Yeah, if it's just they won through attrition and they just, And it does suck, but, it's a small damper on a really, really good narrative. Which, the whole narrative basically just rides on BJ's character. Just what it
go back to Far Cry 3.
Oh, let's start on Far Cry 3.
God, I hated Far Cry 3.
It's a fun game to play.
I mean, once Voss exits stage right, the story just
It's all about you and Scarface.
What is his name? Is
Hoyt.
His name Hoyt?
Hoyt.
Hoyt, yeah. And he's terrible because he's just so blank.
And the worst part is that there's a scene before the end of the game where you're in his office. And I'm just sitting there put the gun to his head, dude. You're in his office.
It's
literally
you
the
and
only person there is on your side.
Well, you had a problem with the what was it? The fucking speech scene where he's like, I'm a bad person. You're all bad people. You're here to make money. And I actually don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem, yes, with when you're in his office with him and he's like, I want you to go torture your brother.
It's like the thing with the speech thing, and the only reason that's egregious is that I have literally fought larger forces.
Yeah.
Before that scene.
I was going to bring up
literally.
This recalls our earlier conversation about player agency and the idea of, I can do this in a game. Because, the reason, the story element, they would say why you would do that, is, there's hundreds of well-armed guys, and it's I've killed hundreds of well-armed guys. It's not a problem.
Yeah, you say, it's a well-armed, they're well-armed guards,
And it would make more sense if Jason somehow,
and your point is, I just unlocked heavy takedown.
I mean, the thing is, it would be better if the story went the way I thought it would, which is, Jason like barely scrambles his way to the end of the game as someone who's like, I don't like killing, but I'll do what I have to. In which case, I could see why he wouldn't want to take on hundreds of dudes. But by that point, he's like enjoying what he's doing.
Asshole at that point.
Yeah. And that thing with Voss is they tried to make a sort of thing of like, do you enjoy doing this? But when he's gone, it's like there's no one to. Because Voss is basically just the player.
And the best thing is that as
Voss
crazy
is just
as
Jason
Voss
and the
was,
player's thoughts, where Voss is just saying this is
as
fun.
crazy as Voss was, he was right.
Yep.
It's like the Joker.
Right.
Like there's a scene where he goes, "Wait, you think you got some tattoos and some guns, and you think you rich white boy you're now a warrior?" It's like,
yeah.
I mean,
you make a really good point. This
remember-
dude has been in the jungle for what, maybe a month?
California boy got a hard on for Jungle Fever.
Yeah.
It's like that game from start to finish has to take at most 2 months. That's being generous. There's no way you're making that radical of a change in 2 months.
It's just,
it doesn't happen.
It just sucks because there was such a great concept with Voss being like the incarnate of the player's thoughts, of just saying like, you know, as the player, do you really think this all makes sense?
And I mean, Jason pissed me off from like the beginning of the game. It's like, okay, you're this rich white boy.
I mean, the thing is though,
nothing
is that
with your life.
In the first cutscene, it seems like they're trying to parody that with the fucking MIT song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you see that and you're like, I think it's supposed to be a joke about rich white kids doing whatever they
play
want.
it completely straight, and it's so aggravating.
Because the thing with the first scene with Voss, you're like, oh, rich white kids get what they deserve because you shouldn't actually do this in real life. You shouldn't go to remote islands where there are possibly pirates in real life. And then they just play it straight like a really bad horror film where it's like, I kill all the bad guys and I win. And it's like, you've killed hundreds of men as a teenage white boy who's probably never seen anything resembling combat.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say he's in his mid-20s. I'll say he's early to mid-20s. I'll give him that benefit.
At best, he's played some video games, but he's like, there's no scene where like he just sits there and just throws up or just like sits
even
on
at the beginning of the game, he goes, "I've never shot somebody before."
Yeah, and he stabs a dude and he freaks out, but that's it. Like that's the only time he ever freaks out.
I mean, like, even in Tomb Raider, like, Laura freaks out and everything, like, when she kills that one dude, but then, like...
Tomb Raider also is
and even then, she has a line where she's terrified about how easy it is.
Yeah, Tomb Raider, like, Tomb Raider is the weird thing, because they immediately go from, I'm really scared to let's do this.
Yeah.
The only thing, though, is that later on, they do try to pull, I keep saying a spec up sort of thing. It's just, I don't know if there's a name for that kind of narrative, that kind of twist about the what are you really doing, because there's a line later on in the game where she's saying, like, come on, you bastards, I'll kill you all, and it's like, is Laura actually becoming this insane killing machine unknowingly? But they never really play to that. It just becomes a standard, I save
they
my
talked
friend.
a lot about that in Tomb Raider's case, when it came to focus testing. The moment the characters got the gun in that scene, the players immediately wanted to use it in the focus test, and that's why there's no pause where there should be.
Yeah,
what they should have done is they probably should, like, you see those tapes where you're playing with, where you had those scenes with the crew on the ship?
Yes.
I think they should have just made that playable.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the game.
That'd be some really good downtime, too.
And then, like, we could just, like, I would have just made that, like, at the beginning of the game, the introduction.
Yeah.
Is just those scenes on that ship. And then once all hell breaks loose, then we can start getting into some serious business.
I think also when it comes to playtesting, like, average people wouldn't want this, but they could have really done some good mechanical stuff with both Far Cry and Tomb Raider, where the idea of you not knowing how to kill someone or even hold a gun. So, like, in the very first time you shoot someone slow in Tomb Raider, it's super swimmy. I know it's because I rewatched someone playing it, like, yesterday. Yeah. I wish they had done more with that, where, like, your aim is really shit until, like, an hour later, and then you just have, like, a point where you're, like, shooting at a target, and it's like, okay, I'm getting better at this. But, like, from, like, that point on, it's, like, perfect shot every time. I can headshot dudes left and right. And it's, like, it should be, like, really shitty aim. And, like, you know, every time you fire the gun, your hands, like, fling backwards from the recoil. Like, I wanted it to be more human, but it seems like the kind of thing where it's like, well, it's gotta be fun to play. And it's like, I don't need it to be fun all the time. I'm willing to deal with an arc where it's frustrating.
So you need to pace it right.
Well, it's like, also, you can put yourself in Laura's character, where it's like, I'm frustrated, and she's frustrated that she can't do this. But I think it's just a focus testing thing, like you said, where they might have done that at some point, and people were like, this sucks, this is not fun.
They said they were originally going to spend, like, an hour or two before you actually, once you got the gun, before you actually got any ammo for it.
God, that'd be great. It's
but
just like
then
her, like, holding the gun.
I have a gun, why can't I use it?
That would actually be really interesting if they had like some scenes with her holding the gun and just trying to figure out how to hold it properly and being a little afraid of
or like if
it.
you try to bluff a pirate.
Yeah.
Like, I have a gun and I'm willing to use it, but you have no ammo for it, so you're just trying to totally bluffing them.
The very opening of Watch Dogs, where you're interrogating that one dude, and you point the gun at the guy, and then you pull the trigger.
Yeah, except Aiden Pierce is an asshole.
Yeah.
He's kind of the worst human being alive. It's just kind of sad, because it's kind of funny we're talking about Far Cry and Tomb Raider versus Wolfenstein and Spec Ops, and it's like they all kind of do the same thing, but two of them do it
some just
poorly.
do it better. Yeah, some just do it better.
Tomb Raider's better than way
Tomb Raider does it
way better than
okay,
Far Cry.
not great, but okay. But Far Cry is terrible.
Yeah, Tomb Raider feels
it's
sadly
it's
Tomb
fun
Raider's
to
like
play.
the best you can do for a AAA game. Like it felt like the kind of concessions they had to make for a AAA game, where it's like, yeah. I guess you had to do this.
Whereas
Far Cry is just like, you could have done better than this.
It's
Fuck
just
you.
awful writing, but the gameplay is still very fun.
Like super fun. It's like really fun. Which
And I mean,
sucks.
it's kind of like when you contrast this with how Blood Dragon just like played it super silly the entire time. Blood Dragon just feels so much better in like every possible respect.
Except those tutorial messages I found to be kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Because I always hate.
Once you get the ninja star of kill everything with a death laser, it's great.
Of course, that's just a tutorial thing I hate. Where like I hate humor in games where they point out flaws in games. Where they're like, "Oh, I got to restart from the bottom of this tower." It's like pointing out the flaw does not make it funny or even fun to play.
My golden rule is that if you feel the need to point out a flaw in your game design,
fix it.
You're probably not. You probably should not have that flaw because you clearly acknowledge it exists.
Just as a quick aside, because I mentioned that, is that I was playing Sunset Overdrive the other day, and they had a great moment where you're climbing a tower, and if you fall off the tower, you respawn, but you respawn at, like, each new plane. Like, there's checkpoints several ways up.
Yeah.
And when you respawn, the player character just says, "Oh, thanks for not making me start at the bottom." And it's like, see? You can make a joke about it and have good design at the same time.
Yeah.
You can make a joke about how good the design is instead of how bad it is.
And actually, if you want to go back to Ratchet and Clank HD Collection real quick.
Sure.
Going Commando had that issue as well, where there were a couple scenes where you'd have to pay to get like the plot MacGuffin to progress the game. And Ratchet lampshades that a couple times, like, really? Even the computers are charging us money now? It's bullshit.
Just making
I'm like, yeah, at that point,
you're not making good design.
You have a character in the story acknowledging that there's a problem here. You don't need this problem. And that's when Up Your Arsenal, they fixed that by making sure that nothing that you needed to finish the story costed money.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk about design for like hours on end, like good design, bad design, humor and design.
It's like we're a video game podcast all of a sudden.
Oh god. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed Wolfenstein. What do you think of the gameplay though? Did you find it?
I thought it was really fun. Yeah. I like the stealth section in particular. I thought those were really interesting.
I know that some people think the gameplay is either really jarring compared to the serious story, or they think it contradicts it in the right way. Where it's like he's this super crazy killing machine, and that's why the serious story impacts that much better.
I'm okay with your
interpretation because
they're both valid interpretations of the story and the gameplay segregation, but I found it just fun to play.
Yeah. It's a good game that I feel like anybody who plays shooters or anybody who's into like complex game narratives should play. It's worth playing.
Yeah, and that was my week in terms of play. As everyone knows, as I talked about a couple weeks back, during the holidays, I get a lot of movies, and I binge watch them because I don't go to the theaters that much anymore. I just get them all during the Christmas time and just watch them. So I've been doing a lot of that lately, and I'm just gonna ram down the movies that I've watched, and if any of you want to comment on them, feel free to do so.
Let's do it.
The first movie I watched was Inception, which is the first time I've ever watched that movie.
Highly overrated, good film.
Yeah,
it's still a good film. But like, people say it's like fucking insane. I'm like, no,
I didn't see how people thought that was terribly confusing. It kind of just all made sense to me.
Yeah, the only thing that people got hung up on was the ending, and it's like,
that's the only time when it's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Although in some cases there are people that have basically come out and said that, oh yeah, they totally, like there are people that have come out with theories like, oh, if you paid attention to certain things, you would know that it's not ambiguous and that this is the answer to it, which I'm not even going to say on the air.
Couldn't care any less.
Yeah.
The thing that solidified it for me was at the very end when the top starts wobbling. It never wobbled in his dreams.
Yeah.
Like, at all. It was perfect. So it's like, that was my definitive answer. I was like, you know what? Good enough for me. Real world.
Yep.
So.
And after that, I put in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Which, again, my first time watching that movie.
It's a fun film.
I really enjoyed it
so much.
I think I enjoy like the graphic novels a little bit more, but it's a really good adaptation. I saw it opening night.
I just loved it. Like, your 70 ex-boyfriend, 70 Max says, "Why do you keep saying that?" And then the lesbian comes out.
That's a great, that's a great reveal.
Also,
why do you keep saying that?
I remember when I first read, because I read the graphic novels first. I remember when I saw that being in high school. I was like, this is definitely a teenage novel with that mindset, because only then would you talk about a girl dating a girl once. It was
in
like,
a faraway
I just did that.
land,
that was the thing I did.
In a mystical faraway land known as Toronto, Canada.
Yeah. I guess there's something you don't see when like adults are making stories for kids. It's like only like someone who grew up as a teenager would be like, yeah, I understand why that would happen.
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
It was a great movie. I love when like now you have to fight Nega Scott. Turns out they're the same person. They just get along really well.
Yeah. I love it. Nega Scott.
Turns out we have a lot in common.
At the very end, it's like, yeah, we have a lot in common. I'm going to eat sushi with him next week. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. What's the name of the person who played Scott? Really famous actor.
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. He does. That's probably one of his best roles as far as doofy.
Yeah.
Like that. And Juno
it's perfect
was his best.
for him.
Yeah.
He's that's his like.
He's a good doofy teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Juno, he was really good in too for that same reason.
No, the other funny thing about that, which always gets me, is Chris Evans as boyfriend number 3, who.
Yes. Vegan, please get on the ground.
Vegan.
The fucking vegan.
Vegan. Well, no, not the vegan guy. No, that's Brandon Routh. But I'm talking about Chris Evans, the guy who played the actor / skateboarder dude. Like,
yeah,
that's boyfriend number 2.
Because he was, fucking Captain America, and then you see him in that, and it's like, like, dude's got some talent, and it's like, I'm your biggest fan. Why wouldn't you be? And it's just...
Yep, you were the perfect kind of asshole.
Yeah, it's so great.
I like when he tells
the gay
the director,
guy was funny. Wallace, the gay guy, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
Wallace was great. I like when I like when Chris Evans tells the actor, or when he tells the director, action.
It's a really good film.
It's great.
I love when the gay guy was like, well, maybe he and her just get along really well, and then he overheard the phone call. I'm sorry, never mind, kick his ass.
Yeah.
What else you watch?
Speaking of Chris Evans, I watched Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh, it's
also
so good.
A really good film. Saw that
Oh my god, that was a great film.
I think it's way better than the first one, personally.
Yes.
I like the tone that they took in comparison to the other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
It was a little more real, because Captain America, he's a really like a superhuman, but he's still basically just a human.
He's still a dude.
Granted, like, the allegory is so thick you could cut it with a knife, but still, it was really good. Like, they didn't, like, it wasn't like they were beating you over the head with the same shit. Like, you get what we're talking about? You get what we're talking about? I was like, yeah, whatever. No, this is really good.
We're talking about the police state.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Isn't Civil War supposed to be like the final Avengers thing? Or the next one?
That's gonna be the last Captain America.
It's after Age of Ultron in the third phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see that. I need to read Civil War because that
we're currently in
really
phase 2.
Oh yes, phase 2.
Yeah, we already told you that I watched Frozen, so we don't need to talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
I also watched the new Thor movie, which I didn't like as much as I did the other movies, honestly. I mean, it's not a bad movie, and Loki is by far the best part of that movie.
Yep.
And no one's surprised by that when I say that. No one is surprised by that.
Nope.
So I find him to be a very interesting character, and the actor is great at his job. Funny, I didn't know that he was actually originally tried out for Thor, and then and then when they saw him do his lines, like, no, you're Loki.
Oh,
I know.
I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah,
because everyone on Tumblr calls him Hiddles.
He originally tried out for Thor, and then they decided, no.
It's a really funny thought, isn't it, to think of him as Thor?
They actually showed his audition
in
the behind-the-scenes footage on the DVD.
DVD.
Chris Hemsworth, I know him and his younger brother were both competing to get the role of Thor.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's either his younger brother or his older brother, I can't remember, but basically it's basically his brother, is what I'm saying. There was another Hemsworth.
Yeah.
There were
And
more.
like I said, that movie isn't bad, but when compared to Captain America or the Scott Pilgrim, it's like it's not as good as.
I will say, like, the one thing that kind of bummed me out about Thor: The Dark World is it features one of my all-time favorite actors, which is Christopher Eccleston, and he played the Dark Elf guy, like the main villain, and it's like I can't blame him because, as I've said, Christopher Eccleston, he's an amazing actor. I love him and everything he does, but it's really more of a fault of the character that they wanted to portray, where there's not. Like, as a villain, there's
not really a character. He's more like a force.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing really memorable about him other than when he shows up, bad shit happens, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
It's and they do that whole thing where he talks in his fucking bullshit Elvish language, whatever, and it's like it's not like when I like to see Chris Eccleston on screen, it's just him doing whatever he wants, and it's like. G.I. Joe, as much as I can't stand that movie, when he's on screen, it's great. And, Gone in 60 Seconds, I could say the same thing. But, yeah, it's like, that was really the only thing that kind of bummed me out about it. It was like, I wanted to see him play this big charismatic villain, and there's nothing really memorable about that character. Because, of course, but then again, Tom Hiddleston is there. What are you gonna fucking do?
Yeah, what more do you need?
No.
Ugh. And to round the movie discussion, I watched the Lego movie.
Oh god.
Oh, it's so
everything
good.
is awesome.
Guys, I should tell you, this dialogue in Destiny is getting great.
Oh god.
Apparently I have to stop the strike at old Russia because the High Servitor of the Machine God will be taking over Russia if I don't stop it.
So as much time as you
What's
spent
a High Servitor?
I don't know!
No,
hang on a second. God?
Hang on a second. Sam, as much time as you spent with that game getting up to this point, do you even know what they meant by any of that?
High Servitor, I'm guessing is a high thing, but there are a machine
guessing.
race.
I'm guessing it's a high thing.
That's not really a good sign, man.
Confirm? No, I mean, this is the first time I've done the strike, but no, I don't know what the hell the Machine God is. That's why I found it so funny. I was like, that sounds like a pretty cool metal name.
So you haven't gone to the website, have you?
No, and that's the thing, is I am going to fully immerse myself in this to see if my experience comes out better. I will fucking read all the Grimoire stuff.
Great.
I'll fucking do it. I have to know!
When I was a kid, we referred to that as Wikipedia.
Yep.
I just had to stop to talk about the High Servitor of the Machine God trying to take old Russia from us.
I just love
Yeah,
that,
going
though.
back to actually,
Just out of context, that sounds great.
But going back to good things, the Lego movie.
Yeah, the Lego movie is fantastic.
Oh my god,
awesome.
Leah. And I actually found like the twist at the
Oh, I cried.
Dude, I saw that in theaters with my friends.
I thought that was
so fucking sad.
I know. And I do like the ending. It's like, well, is President Business the bad guy? And then he realized, like, oh wow, I'm a huge asshole.
Yeah, that is so fucking good.
He's like, I didn't mean to be a bad guy. I was just trying.
It's not like he was intentionally a dick. He's just.
He's
He likes his Legos a certain way.
He's this man-child that has his stash in his basement and shit. And it's like.
Yeah.
To be fair, like I remember specifically reaching a point with Legos where I'd build it and I just didn't deconstruct them anymore. Like I did.
Yeah, because why would you?
Yeah, and like.
Yeah.
That's basically the extreme of that point. Like, I think that's what they're trying to reference was these kids growing up and be like,
the Craggle.
Yeah, everybody got to a point with their Legos where they just built it and that was it.
I mean, granted, it's cool to like build whatever you want. That's what makes Lego sets awesome, as opposed to fucking Mega Bloks and bullshit. Like, there is an Ashens video that sums this up really well.
Oh,
it's like.
Great.
No, it's like a Lego set, no matter how small it is, you could still do whatever you want with that Lego set. You buy a fucking Mega Bloks like World of Warcraft set, you can't do shit with that except what's supposed to be on the box. Like, that's why it's stupid. I mean, granted, there are bigger Mega Bloks sets that are pretty cool. Like, you know, you buy this fucking Halo set, you could probably turn it into whatever you wanted to, but it's like
World of Warcraft set.
Yeah, but like some of the smaller sets, though, it's like you really can't do anything other than what's on the box, and it's so dumb. Like,
I mean, Lego is just the height of creativity.
Good, like the movie in particular, one of the extra features is that it teaches you how to build some of the stuff in the movie, like the double-decker couch.
Oh, that's cool.
Car with Legos, and guy who does it, he's the guy that basically he is the head of like the Legos creative department.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's like, you know, you don't actually have to do it exactly the way I do it. If you want, you can just do it. Okay, that's entirely up to you.
Dude, I had such great memories of like getting tons of sets together and be like, I'm just gonna build this crazy battle going on.
He definitely like, and the way he did, he had emphasized that this is more of a suggestion on how you might want to build it, but feel free to do it your way. It's not, it's Legos. You know how Legos work.
I feel like the movie just reminded me of like how important Legos are as a toy. Like, just that they are the essence of creativity.
And I just love the president business.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so great.
Carol does a great job in that film.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not very subtle, but it gets the point across.
Yeah. Like, everybody is just fucking fantastic. Morgan Freeman as Vitruvius is just...
Yes, I love Morgan
Freeman. Just go with that, then.
As the wise mentor character.
Oh, man. I bought that on Blu-ray for my family to watch. I think I'm going to force them to watch it tomorrow.
One of my favorite scenes in that is like after he dies and he comes back as a ghost.
Yes!
On the street. It's so fucking good.
It's like immediately comes back as a ghost, like, hey.
And like Morgan Freeman just being Morgan Freeman of, I had to tell you something else.
Like, it's not even him trying to do an accent or an act. Like, he knows that people got him because of his internet fame.
You know that he is God from Bruce Almighty.
Yeah. I mean, he totally plays it straight, but it just works so fucking well.
Like, you can believe that Morgan Freeman is God. You can believe that.
I believe it.
When he has, because he's so it's because he's so charismatic. But when he has the that little speech at the end when he's dying, he's like, you didn't let me finish. And then he's like, I'm gonna tell you the most important thing. It's fucking great. I picture him making that noise. I'm like, it's funny.
It's like it's like, I meant to tell you something else.
And Alison Brie, who from Community played the crazy cat, or the cat unicorn thing.
Princess Unikitty.
Yeah.
Princess Unikitty. Dylan knows her from Hunger Games.
Wait, who is she?
In Hunger Games, she's I can't remember her name, but she's the one. That is mahogany.
I read the books, so I don't know.
That is mahogany. May the odds be ever in your favor.
And Liam Neeson as bad cop.
Yes.
So good.
Apparently he was good cop too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Same voice actor.
I was like, he's good cop.
Just Lego movie is fucking incredible.
I want to think that I still have some good cop in me.
Will Arnett as Batman was like the greatest thing.
That's the best!
That was so
Darkness!
No
Darkness!
No parents.
No parents.
The fact that they basically play Batman as this dude who doesn't get over himself, and it's just like he's the.
In other words,
I mean, it's like Batman. It's kind of like Batman as the internet sees Batman, which is just the parents' joke.
Which is great because
like Batman,
they are.
This guy will never
get over that comic.
Because
what's full of holes in an alley? My parents. No, oh my God, no! It's a bowling ball.
Jesus Christ, Batman.
But like he just works so well as like the douchebag boyfriend. Like, what are you losers talking about? Like, and the fact is, we are gonna get a Lego Batman movie with him in it.
And Chris Pratt as the main character.
Do you know Chris Pratt's homeless?
I didn't.
What?
No. So apparently, Chris Pratt, when he was discovered, he was homeless, living in Maui, and people. Wow. He would tell people that, and it's like, oh man, that must have been awful. He's like, no, it was great, because I was in Maui homeless. I could just go to the beach whenever I wanted to. It was awesome.
You know, I remember hearing about that, actually, after I saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember reading that. It's like, that's a very optimistic look at it, but alright.
Yeah, like, he was homeless when he got discovered by some lady who, like, she's like a big-time producer now, but, like, she was like an extra in, like, fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando from, like, back in the 80s.
That's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, he was really good. Performance as the main character. I forget his name.
Shit. He has a good name. I can't remember what it is.
Oh, Emmett.
Emmett, yeah.
Emmett Bukowski.
Yeah.
My brother's calling me. Hold up.
God, that whole
I
movie's
just love
amazing.
the whole thing where anyone can be the special, which is basically like the whole point of Legos is that if you just take a minute just to build stuff, you can do whatever you want.
I just loved how it, like, the whole thing of, like, how the world kind of keeps you stupid with, like, advertising to where, like, when we're introduced to Emmett and it's like, you know, wait, what did he say? Oh wait, this show's on. I don't care.
Honey,
where are my pants?
Yeah, he's like, oh man, there was something really bad and important I was angry about. Oh well, I don't remember. It's like,
wait a second, did Lord Business say put to sleep? And then he watches Where My Pants. Like, what was I thinking? I don't remember.
Yeah. Like, I loved that. Just like how.
I watched that. I seriously, I was feeling really bad, and my little sister and my brother wanted to watch Lego Movie. I was like, I'm not feeling good enough to watch a movie, and we watched it 3 times in a row. And I was like, this is the best day of my life.
I just love the last line they end on. It's like, you know, now that I'm letting you play in here, your sister has a play in here too.
Yeah, then
sister, and then we are from the planet.
And he goes, wait, what?
I don't know what source, but you can just flip through.
Yeah, I'm so glad that movie's getting a sequel, as well as Lego Batman the movie. Like,
I'll be able to help you in like an hour.
God, Will Arnett was absolutely amazing.
No parents.
Fun fact. So Superman, like Lego Superman and Lego Green Lantern, as we see in the movie.
Oh my God, I love butt munchy Green Lantern.
Yeah, so Lego Superman was played by Channing Tatum, who
and
would remember from 21 Jump Street.
And Jonah Hill was Green Lantern, also from. So they were both from 21 Jump Street.
Yeah,
and they're both playing.
It's so good.
I love Superman. At one point, he's like, "Oh, I have to go back to Krypton." And he flies off, and you just hear Green Lantern. Didn't that place blow up?
Like, I love how like the superhero characters are basically this is how the internet sees them as
it's heroes and people filtered through the internet. That's why
it's like Superman's like, oh come on, how bad could this actually be? And then he's next to Green Lantern. Please, can I have anyone else next to me? Anyone else?
It's like, and the thing is, that's why Channing Tatum seems so perfect. Like, if they do a Lego Batman movie, I want to see more of Lego Superman played by Channing Tatum because it works so well. Of like, Superman's this big, bulky, dumb jock. Yep. Because Channing Tatum is a big, bulky, dumb jock.
But he's ours.
And have you on the box office?
Have you guys seen 22 Jump Street?
Yes.
My name's Jeff. I fucking love that movie.
I've seen the first one, but I gotta watch the second one. So
the second one's
as good.
It's the second one's just as good.
My name's Jeff. The movie all the way through, but it wasn't until like they showed the real world that I really started to understand why that was such a great movie.
Yeah, like I mean, if it didn't have that, it would be cute. But it's like the real world thing. It's kind of like the Toy Story 3 thing, where it's like,
not gonna lie, I actually
think
cried
about yourself and your childhood.
Yeah,
I actually cried during this scene. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I did too at the theater. Totally. It's fucking Legos from my childhood, man.
Oh, I was gonna say for Lego Movie when he has the "You Are the Specials" speech. Yeah, I cried. I teared up and I was like, that was.
It's doubly emotional when you do that on top of the fact that it's the son talking to his father.
Yeah, and you have. I thought that was great. There's that one shot where it's Emmett looking up as Lord Business is walking towards him, and Lord Business, of course, has those giant boots on, so he's very tall, and he's walking, and then it cuts perfectly to almost identical shot of the boy and
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, thank you, walking, and you still hear the robotic footsteps when Will Ferrell is taking steps. That was perfect.
It's well directed.
Oh, it was amazing.
That was a great movie.
I think we.
I wonder if someone who hasn't seen that movie is going to be listening to this, going, "This sounds really deep. What the fuck? I just wanted to see block people
I'm kind of
punching."
curious to watch. I'm kind of curious to see my parents watch it because, like, I wonder if it'll strike them the same way, being that Legos weren't their childhood.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of us like it.
My childhood was, for the most part, spent in like my Lego chest.
Yeah, same with me.
Not Legos, but the knockoff brand. But still, I had as much fun as I.
Yeah, like I didn't have a lot of them, but I had like a couple of. I had like a couple of sets.
I had enough.
I actually
my
still
parents would
have
get it
those
for like.
blocks.
I'd get them for like my birthday and Christmas, and it was always a big deal to get a new Lego set.
Yeah.
I actually still have those old blocks from way back when that
I gave them to my cousin who really loves them.
I think we could talk about this all day, but we should
talk about every subject we've brought up all day.
Yeah, that wraps up my week. You know, I apologize for having such a long term.
Okay, my brother's calling again.
But
this is going real well.
We should wrap this up.
We could talk about darkness and no parents if you want to.
Oh Jesus, no! I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
Anyway, since Sam's not here, I'm gonna sign off the Texture Pop. Be sure to check out my new article, When I Compare I Compare Wolfenstein to Far Cry 3, which just came out an hour ago. It's time to support it.
Nice.
Charky, do you have anything you want to promote?
Nope.
Nah, I've got nothing.
For New Year's.
Garrett, do you have anything you want to promote?
No.
I'll do a
Sam,
quick shout
did
out.
you do something?
Yeah. I didn't talk about my week, but I'm gonna save it just because I do have to go. But you know, I talked about Destiny.
You didn't talk about your week. You got fucking Destiny.
I played other things, Chris.
Well, you didn't want to go on too long, though, so...
No, I gotta go anyway, like right now. But
okay.
Quick thing I want to plug is that I wrote an article about itch.io games. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. I always call it itch.io.
Yeah.
It's the indie website. I wrote an article about 5 of the games that I played, the first 5. So you can check that out in the Skybox. I'm pretty proud of that article. I like it a lot. And I highly suggest you check out all the games I
And of course,
recommended.
I'll link that in the show notes.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be back next week, I guess.
Yep.
Same Texture Pop time, same Texture Pop nonsense.
Same, just random, I gotta go, the show's over.
I think saying same channel probably would be better, simply because it's like, what fucking time do we keep to? What?
That's true. I'm trying to be better. It depends on my work schedule. But yeah, same channel. It will always be on the Texture Pop channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we don't want to keep Samuel any longer than we have to, so good night, guys.
Yep.
Good night.
Later.
Later.
Buddy.